Does it sound
Yeah,
really
people
loud?
always say I'm quiet. I'll just turn myself up a
I
little.
think you sound good.
Yeah.
Is it the same level you were on last week? I thought you sounded good last
Yeah,
week.
I think so.
Ask
I don't really
us,
ever
ask the
touch.
peeps.
Do I sound loud enough, everyone? They don't care.
Who gives a
Sounds
shite?
good. Thank you, multi twat man. I love your username.
Who gives a shite? You guys watching the Super Bowl over there in the UK?
Some of my mates are. Some of my mates are into it, but
Some people are watching it.
oh yeah, Super Bowl Sunday.
Super Bowl Sunday, yeah. I wonder what it's
Sounds bad.
pretty much the COVID Bowl because think about how like it's all finger food at Super Bowls.
The COVID Bowl.
That's kind of what it is.
Oh yeah, people go all out, don't they?
But
Make
it's
a-
all finger food, so
make
you
a
think
bean
it's
dips.
gonna just
Which disgusts me. The idea of a bean dip is not right.
You don't like a 7-layer
Hell
bean dip?
yeah!
You don't like a 7-layer bean dip?
Why do I want to eat mushed up beans?
That's what refried beans are.
Well,
Yo.
I don't eat refried beans because I don't need to eat mushed up food.
Then you would hate a bean burrito from Taco Bell because that's what it is.
Oh, is it mush? What is it? Refried beans?
Yeah, it's all Mexican food's all refried beans. You can
I
get black.
thought-
I prefer black beans,
I
but
was gonna say I thought it'd be.
but that's not
beans.
typical though. It's
Oh.
usually pinto or refried, mostly
Right.
refried. Yeah, it's not
I'm
typical.
not worldly like you, D, on my burritos. So,
Podcast.
does Jeff host a Super Bowl party at his bar? Super Bowl party, maybe.
Well, it probably a Super Bowl party. His bars, I don't think they're open right now.
No, but like, have they done it in the past?
Oh yeah, it's a big
Yeah.
thing. That like the Bears love the big burly men.
I do like mushy peas. Yeah, okay. We're allowed some things. I'd rather eat
Pea
mushy
soup?
peas. No, mushy peas. Then I'd rather have mushy peas. Mushy peas.
I
Then,
don't really like mushy peas.
Then refried beans. I don't know. I just like a bean that's been stamped on. Do you want to know a random Hitler fact? Because he was obviously vegetarian. He basically ate a lot of beans and was very constipated from eating all these beans all the time, all the starchy shits that man must have had.
He was really constipated.
Yeah, it was partly the reason why he was so distempered. It's
Fucking
because of
poor
his.
guy.
Yeah, I know. Imagine the
I feel
pain.
really bad for all these Nazis.
These Nazis who suffered.
These poor suffering Nazis. All right, there you go. There you go. All right.
Yeah, we just did the overkill. We just did it about Irma Grazer.
Irma Grace. Yeah, so we're talking about Nazi death camp porn. I'm sure. How many people out there have seen Ilsa, She-Wolf of the SS?
Fun film. It's a fun film for the whole family.
Yeah, it's good family viewing. I think it's on Disney Plus. That's where I saw it.
That's where it should be.
Yeah.
Exactly. Does it? You can tell it's made for the Disney Channel because everyone's wearing Disney ears. I'm hungry. I want some mushy peas now. Some fish chips and mushy peas. Breakfast of champions.
Fish and chips.
Fish chips and mushy peas, please, sir.
Fish, chips, mush peas. Is that like a thing in the UK? Mushy peas, like pea soup?
Yeah. No, it's mushy peas. They come with your fish
I don't
and
understand
chips.
it.
They're just like peas that
Like
have
a
been mushed
pea
up.
paste.
Yeah, it's basically a pea paste.
A pea paste.
A pea paste, yeah.
Are you into pea paste?
Apparently I am.
You find out a lot about Kate on the Patreon. Actually, yesterday we were recording the Patreon.
I got wasted yesterday.
Yeah, and Kate was explaining in detail about the shit mattress she makes in the toilet. We'll get into this, but if you want to hear it, it's going to be on.
You still never answered the question.
If I make a shit mattress?
No, about why there is so much water in American toilets.
Because you want that shit to drown. You don't want to like slide down the back of your commode. You want to fall in there, float, and we don't give a shit about water conservation.
I was about to say, so you're actually wasting water out of laziness.
Yeah, we want that shit to be submerged in the water and gone. We don't want like the tip sticking out.
Well, your dad, the Cox.
The breaking up the cocks.
Yeah. So you can't
That's
say
not
that
even
it's
an
a
English
foolproof
thing, is that?
system. Nobody calls shit Cox over
I
here.
know.
Just the rabbi.
I've never
Just
heard
the
because I've asked
rabbi.
English for a long time. I thought that was like an English thing. Like English people
Mhm.
are like, we call shit cocks. It's the cocks. And then I learned later from my English friends are like, no,
No
we've
one
never
calls it the
said that.
Cox.
That's some weird thing that the rabbi did. Kind of like the shit hanger. Like the shit hanger, you know, when you're young, you take a lot of things as a given. Like you don't question it because you think this is my family and I've grown up in my family and this is what like the adults do and this is how it's
Mhm.
done. So the shit hanger was something my sister and I never questioned. We always thought like, we go on vacation and my dad had it wrapped up in like a plastic bag in a suitcase. And like when he'd clog up the toilet with his cocks, he'd be like, go get the hanger. And we'd go get the hanger and, he'd break it up and it'd go down the toilet. So for a while, I never knew that there were plungers. I never knew there was a thing called a plunger until I went on vacation. I think I was like, definitely just moved back to the country from South Africa because my dad had his shit hangers in South Africa. And I went on vacation with the Kesslers, their family. And someone clogged the toilet and I was like, oh, do you guys have a shit, like a hanger?
Shit
And,
hanger.
and
To
I remember
break
my
up
friend
the
Kessler's,
Cox.
well, my friend Kessler's just like, why do you want a hanger? And I was like, well, you break up the cocks in the hanger. He was just like, you break up what? I was like, you break up cocks with the hanger. And he was just so confused. I'm like, well, and they're like, no, we use a plunger. And he thought it was like a South African thing. I'm like, but
Oh,
no, it
right. Yeah,
wasn't.
yeah.
It
It's
was
a
the rabbi
rabbi.
thing. It's the weird rabbi thing. And I mean, even after we learned that there are plungers, he still carried the hanger with him.
It's not like plungers are even expensive. They're like less than a tenner.
They're also more effective
And you
than a
can get,
fucking
yeah.
hanger and breaking up the cocks. I know I don't know. But I learned later on in life that there were a lot of things that my dad did that was weird.
Did the rabbi get buried with his shit hanger?
Is someone asking that on YouTube?
No, I'm asking that.
Oh, you're asking.
Yeah.
No. Although that would have been really funny.
I think you
That
should have
would have been
snuck it
really
in his
funny.
coffin in those 3 days' time. They chuck you in the ground, don't they? Just
And
like
just like slip it
when
in
the
with the shit hanger.
yeah, when the body's still warm, you could be like, gotta break up the rabbi.
He did have one hanger that he liked a lot. It was the
What
one he
it's for
used for
using shit
years.
hanger? Yeah,
Used for
take on
years.
holiday. Is that the one he took on holiday?
Yeah, it was like this
Yeah.
one that was like perfectly unraveled and folded, so it worked really well. I think
Mhm.
I think my sister got it in the will.
I think it's a precious family heirloom. Is she going to pass it on to baby Schmools?
I think she's gonna pass the technique of
Well,
breaking up the
yeah.
cocks. Yeah.
David, break up the cocks.
The funniest thing about the rabbi is, and this probably goes along with your question about a lot of water in the toilet. My dad always clogged up the toilet with his cocks. And so he asked his landlord at his place in it was like the last apartment he lived in. He asked his landlord to like replace the toilet with like an industrial strength toilet. So it had like this really huge tank in the back. And when you flushed it, it wasn't just like it was like and he was just and my dad was super stoked
Hey,
about it. Like
Warwick. Sorry.
my dad was super stoked about it. Like when you'd be over at I'd be home from like college or San Francisco and be his house. He's like, listen to this, listen. He's like, I don't need to break up my cocks. And he's like, they flush. I never clog this toilet. It's like, oh, great. But our toilets and our old plumbing in San Francisco clog those things in minutes.
I wonder if he clogged the toilets of Leeds when he was growing up.
I don't know. I mean,
Mm.
then he was like eating, probably not all that American food that he ate.
Could be the American diet as well. Just goes
American
right.
diet, yeah.
But he's obviously digesting. He was obviously good at digesting his food.
A lot of fiber, I guess. I don't know,
Yeah,
I'm not
fuck
sure.
That was a fiber machine.
Fiber machine.
Mm.
All right. You ready?
Yes, I am ready.
Cool. Good evening. Welcome to Sick and Wrong, the world source for antisocial commentary. I'm one of your hosts, D. Simon.
Hello, I'm Kate Rambeau.
Kate Rambo. Have you seen the Night Stalker documentary on the YouTube? Or
I
no, it's on the Netflix. On the Netflix.
On the
Not the YouTube.
Netflix. I highly disapprove of all Netflix's terribly produced documentaries. Why do I need to watch that? Why do I need to spend 6 hours watching that? I'd rather read a book and then watch Dead Book knock it out the park within like 20 minutes. Must say,
Spoken
Dead Book has done a Night Stalker doc that is very, very good. It's on his channel.
spoken by a true crime snob right there. There's some true
Yes, I
crime
am.
snobbery going
Because
on.
let me tell you
in the
something.
UK.
I want to know the full facts. I want to know all about the ass fucking, and I want to see pictures of the ass fucking if there are pictures of the ass fucking available. Deadbug can put it in and nobody complains. Netflix, which I pay for it. I want to see pictures of the dead ladies that have been ass fucked. Not allowed. So why would I watch
True
that?
crime snob. No, well, I think you see the other dimension. I agree with you on that. Like that was my main criticism of the Night Stalker doc. He was only in it in the last episode. It was only 4, thankfully, not like 10.
Still
10
4
episodes.
hours out
I
your
hate
life,
that.
isn't it, mate?
But he was only in the 4th episode, and so I kind of was like, I wish they would have given more detail about Rick Ramirez. However, what they did do well is they really did set the seat, the setting, the milieu of LA at the time, and they had all this great footage of Los Angeles in the 80s during that whole period. They interviewed victims, all the victims. They interviewed the cops that were involved with. So you had like direct eyewitness accounts, and they did show some. They showed most of the murder victims. So they did have graphic detail, but I think the thing I liked about it for the most is the way they captured like the spirit of LA during that period. And so I watched it. I was watching it this week, and then on Thursday at my work, I'm in meetings all fucking day on Zoom. That's pretty much what I do all day. And so we had to wait for this one producer guy to show up, and because you couldn't start the meeting without that guy. And so we're waiting. And so while we were waiting, they were talking about the Golden State Killer documentary. And so then I brought up, have you guys seen The Night Stalker? And two of the other producers that work there are older, but they grew up in LA. And one of them was like, oh yeah. She's like, I watched it. I thought it was overproduced, like most Netflix docs. She's like, however, she's like, it made me just think back on that time. And I was like, oh, really? She's like, yeah, I was in my teens. And she goes, and it fucking sucked. I was like, what do you mean? She's like, you think lockdown now sucks? She's like, you're locked down because you're terrified that a motherfucker is going to come through your window, rape your kids, and murder you. She's like, so she goes, we weren't allowed to even leave our house after 7 p.m. She's like, my mom would come pick me up at school, and you're pretty much just stuck in the house. And she's like, and the worst part, she's like, my family didn't have AC. We didn't have like, we weren't like upper class or whatever. And she's like, so we had to lock all of our windows, and and it's like 115 degrees outside, and you got your windows locked all night, all day, because you couldn't open them because Ramirez is an opportunistic killer. I mean, that guy probably tried 6 houses in a row, found an open window, and was like, I'm gonna go kill these people.
I think that's what kind of this COVID lockdown needs now. We need a killer.
A killer?
We need a killer coming along, just like spicing things up a bit.
Well, he'll know everybody's at home. The one thing I guess Ramirez went, and through the cloak of night, snuck in and kind of surprised his victims. But I mean, you got to have some balls to go into someone's home. I mean, I don't know how many, 6 in 10 Americans have guns?
Yeah.
I mean, he went into a couple deputies' homes.
Remember, he did. He shot shot that couple as they were trying to shoot him with their shotgun.
Yeah, I mean, he obviously didn't give a shit about
the murder that always makes me laugh is like the really old woman, and her son was like, please lock your windows and your doors, and the mum was like, the old lady was like, no, I believe in the good of people. And that night, ass fucked by Ramirez. Should have locked your door, you old bitch.
Yeah, one of the they had some I guess one of the witnesses at the trial, she was just like, I was like, please, Jesus, help me. And he like slapped, he's like, say please, Satan.
To be fair, I'd have been into that. That sounds like a lot like my my courtships.
Do you think he was the embodiment of evil?
I think there are definitely eviler people than Richard Ramirez. But he was a predator, wasn't he?
Yeah, sure. He loved to drive. that
He
guy.
loves driving. I think driving,
Yeah.
murder, ass fucking geriatrics, and driving. They're his three things that he just like loves to do the most.
But the thing is, I mean, he was extremely versatile. Like he raped
Hmm.
kids, raped old people. You know,
Oh,
he didn't rape
anyone.
men. He murdered all the men.
Oh yeah, he's not gay. That's where he
Yeah.
draws the line. I'm not
But
gay.
the thing I didn't get about this guy, it's like, at what point does like porn just doesn't cut it for him? Like now
Yeah.
I got to go rape pensioners,
He wants
and
the old
you know,
gristle. He doesn't want
that
prime beef. He wants old gristle.
yeah, I mean, that must be. One of my, I guess one of the more fascinating parts of the documentary is that so in the fourth episode, when they actually reveal, who the killer is, um,
Who was
they
it?
exactly. Spoiler alert. They're in the trial and they show a lot of footage from the trial, and so this was like probably what 1989. I
Yes.
kind of remember this too because we had just moved back. I think moved back that year, right before 1990. I think we moved back like October of '89, and it was such a big deal because it was all over the
Hmm.
news. And I think I had heard of Manson, but I was young. But I remember just kind of following the story because it was kind of interesting, and plus all the pictures. The
Yeah.
picture, the iconic photo of him with a pentagram on his hand.
Oh yes.
But
Hello.
what was interesting in the documentary, they show all these goth sluts that show up at his trial. Like all these, like, they all have like, they're all wearing all black and they got like blonde, teased up 80s hair. And they're just fawning over this violent serial killer, child and pensioner rapist,
Hmm.
which is
With
just,
really bad teeth as well.
oh God, he had terrible teeth.
And
And
he
they,
had BO. He stank.
yeah, they said he smelled like a goat.
He sounded like a goat.
Yeah, that's what several police officers were like, oh yeah, that guy smelled. Oh,
Do you not think that's an insult to goats? Should we give a goat heard that? It'd be like, hey, buddy, I smell great.
I wonder if that was intentional to be like close, like Satan.
Oh yeah, that could be like.
I wonder if that was it.
Mhm.
But so I was wondering about it. I'm like, what do you think? These people, these women, these admirers obviously know who this man is, what he's done,
Yes.
and yet they still show up. Why? Like, what do you think the attraction is? And I put a lot of thought into this.
Mm,
It's the forbidden fantasy, the
of
verboten.
course.
This subversive indulgence in the ultimate evil as a form of eroticism.
Mhm.
They're like getting off on like this guy who's so evil. But the weirdest thing about it, it's like you sexualize this guy, but look at that fucking grill. Look at those
Yeah.
teeth. You see his smile? If his last name wasn't Ramirez, I would have thought he was British.
Oh, David. That's a cheap shot at us.
Can't help it. Running
Yeah.
joke. But yeah, anyway, getting back to the forbidden fantasy of Richard Ramirez and the subversive eroticism of that guy. It's very similar. I'm drawing a parallel here to the topic of the show, to the pornographic appeal of Nazi iconography. You look at the people, fetishize Nazis, and
They
it's that
do.
whole forbidden fantasy, especially in like the S&M world. It's
Of
like
course.
the evil Nazi dominatrix in the SS outfit with the riding crop and the black leather boots.
Yeah.
It's really strange to look into that. And so anyway, this topic was actually suggested by a listener, a guy named, well, his email address named Fugel. Like a lot of people that email the show, they never actually use their names. It's like make a pseudonym up. Who cares? You
They
think
are
B.
ashamed.
Simon's my real name? I think
Yeah.
they're just ashamed. Even the pseudonym is too close for people to reveal. It's too close to my identity.
Mhm.
Anyway, this guy wrote in and suggested this topic of stalags, stalagim, which is a short-lived genre of Nazi exploitation, like Holocaust porn books. Like these are like books, erotic fiction of death camps and what happened in these death camps. And the weird thing about it, these books flourished in Israel in like late
Oh.
1950s, early 1960s. A very short-lived time. I mean, they only lasted a few years before like Israeli censors shut it down, but very popular in Israel and written by Israelis.
Wow. Okay,
Yeah.
so they're taking the power back.
In a sense. I mean, we're going to get to that, like why the appeal of this forbidden fantasy. But during my research, it's not only just, they're the stalags, which were the literature, the books, the short stories, but then there's also, through the 60s and 70s, there's like these Nazi exploitation film, Like people might have heard of the most famous one, Ilsa, She Wolf of the SS.
Yeah.
And so
And The
I had
Night Porter. That's a
Night
great
Porter
film.
was Night Porter's more like more art house type of
It
film,
is
like
smart, but it is very, very
more
sexy.
artistic. Yeah, whereas Ilsa was kind of porn. I did a lot of research the other night, had to watch it, official research,
Yes,
had
it's
to
very
watch it
official.
several times. You know, uh, Pants were not always on during those viewings. I think
I
the
love that
rabbi would
film.
have been
I've
very
seen it a
disappointed.
bunch. Yeah, I used to watch it
I'm
when I was
sure
16,
you've seen it a
17, all
bunch.
the time. It's a great film. Highly
Were
recommend
you
that.
also doing research?
Yes, this week I have been researching all these Nazi porn films. I'm now becoming an expert on what happens.
An expert on Nazi porn. So yeah,
Hmm.
this Nazi death camp porn was a thing, still kind of is a thing. But a lot of it stemmed from these stalags of the late 1950s and early 1960s. And these things, they kind of they proliferated after the trial of Eichmann, but then stopped shortly thereafter because it was shut down by the Israeli government, which was exceedingly puritanical. Like
Hmm.
these Israeli government, especially at that time, porn was banned, outright banned. There's no porn
Really?
allowed in that country.
Oh wow, I never knew that.
So these books were like the only sexual outlet for these like adolescent teens. I think
Hmm.
that's why they're so popular. So these books, Stalags, Stalag, Stalag, they took their name from the Nazi prison camps in which they were set. And so there is basically just pornographic paperbacks with like really kind of lurid covers. Usually, and we'll show you some covers in a second, but of buxom Nazi women with whips and boots and hats, like whipping like a bound male prisoner. But they all had like these very Nazi themes. Most of them were pornographic accounts of imprisonment, and the weird thing is almost always Allied soldiers, usually British soldiers, British and
Oh,
American troops.
Tommies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sexual brutalization by female SS guards, and then the prisoner's eventual revenge, always turning the
Ooh.
tables here, which usually consisted of the rape and murder of their tormentors. It's
Right.
kind of turn the tables. So here's a typical premise of a Stalag. So during the Second World War, an Allied pilot gets shot down over Germany. He ends up in a prison of war camp, hence the name Stalag, a, a contraction of the German word Stammlager, Stalag.
Hmm.
Our hero is then brutally treated in the camp by buxom female guards who sadistically torture him, but also use him as a sex slave. And the novel ends up with the protagonist taking revenge, ultimately on his tormentors.
I have a full-on chub.
Yeah, I can see you getting
Mm.
into this.
Yeah, I would
Um,
100% read this book.
There are many of them. So the
Yeah.
first Stalag was actually Stalag 13, and it was sold out instantly at newspaper kiosks at Tel Aviv bus stations in like the early 60s. It was written by a 23-year-old named Eli Kadar, and it was published under the pen name Mike Baden. Most of them used U.S. names. Uh,
Hmm.
I think part of it was because they wanted to create this ruse that it was written by someone who actually was there. Like this is a true account of what happened by this prisoner of war.
I see.
So a lot of these stalags had the same authors, like Mike Baden, Victor Boulder, Kim Rockman, Eric Lindstrom, Mike Longshot, and Ralph
Mike
Butcher.
Longshot.
Yeah,
Ralph
Ralph
Butcher.
Butcher.
That's the British guy, Ralph Butcher. He's from Britain.
Wasn't he in Inglorious Bastards? Um, but yeah, these were like, recurring characters, but also most often the narrators, because I think they're trying to like, have this ruse that these guys lived this experience. Like this is a memoir, not a
Yeah.
work of fiction. But it turned out that they said, it's like a lot of these would be like, for the first time in Hebrew, it's like this is a superb translation. This was a distinctly Israeli genre. These were all published and written by Israeli authors. So these
Oh,
were Israeli produced books. They weren't memoirs. They weren't first person accounts of what happened.
they're
Um,
smart.
More or less. But so the foreign sounding pseudonyms were taken for commercial reasons, to add like legitimacy
Hmm.
to, who wrote it. Also, I think that what they're trying to do is sort of like evade the censors. So if it was like a memoir, it wasn't like porn fiction,
It's very
you know?
clever. Yeah.
So Stalag 13, the first of the series, tells the story of Mike Baden, a British pilot held in a German POW camp. His experiences seem to follow the standard course of wartime captivity until one day the SS staff is unexpectedly replaced by another unit. I mean, there's nothing really peculiar about the soldiers, nothing exceptional, but the physical fact that they were all women. Two platoons of female SS stormtroopers wearing very tight pants, shiny leather boots, and vests from cloth that stretched across tall and upright breasts with pointy nipples.
Pointy nipples. You can tell this is a man writing this. Yeah.
Well, I think they had a particular demographic that they were targeting. Beneath the caps, they had like short army haircuts, but the hair was fine and the necks feminine and slim. Before long, the camp is run exclusively by these female officers who dominated the men through menace, torture, and sexual abuse. And even as they plot rebellion, the soldiers are compelled to obey their sex-crazed dominators with a mixture of pleasure and revulsion. So finally, the tables are turned on their vicious tormentors, and they take revenge by means like no less brutal than what they actually experience themselves. And that's typically, they all have the same narrative structure, all of these books, you know? And the crazy thing is how successful they were. Stalag 13 had 4 editions within a year, sold more than 25,000 copies, considered a bestseller at the time. And then they eventually expanded into settings beyond just German camps, but camps of a similar nature in Japan, Russia, Syria. So there's like Geisha Stalag, Stalag Stalingrad, Stalag of Experiments, and Desert Stalag. So let's check out a couple of these pictures of the provocative covers of these books. You could see how they would appeal to an Israeli teen.
Oh yeah,
so look at this.
They're like the men's adventures magazines from the 50s, aren't they? In the 40s.
You know, it's funny you say that because there a lot of it was kind of like a perversion of those magazines.
Yeah.
So here you go. Buxom Nazi female guards. I love their uniforms. It's just like, I'm just going to wear my panties. They got their armbands. They got the Nazi armbands. But it's like blonde, big tits, just tied up British soldier.
And the
forced to obey the will of his tormentors. Move to the next one. All right, here's another one. This is great.
This the 13? So is this
this is the actual cover. This is Stalag 13.
Very, very sexy.
Yeah, it's like you have two, one a blonde and a brunette here. They both have a lot of cleavage, wearing the black SS uniforms.
The boots.
And she's got a knee in the guy's back, gun to his throat, and you can see the Hebrew.
Yeah.
You know, in the title. I'm sure it says like translated in Hebrew for the first time. So, here's another one. Yeah, I like this one. I like this one because she's got like, I don't know, she's got like the SS jacket on, but she's screaming. Just
she's like a wolf.
the guy down.
Yeah. She's a she-wolf.
And there's a lot of the Stalags had these too, like the women with these riding crops, just whipping the men. You know, the men just prostrate on the ground.
Yeah.
Now here's another one. Like, so this is probably what happens when they get the better of their tormentors. This guy turned the tables. Now he's gonna start whipping her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Look at how ugly he is.
So the Stalags, no, he's hideous. So the Stalags, I mean, they were like number 1 through 1,000. And then the titles eventually, instead of just being like Stalag 13, Stalag 12, they became like Stalag of the Devils, Stalag of the Wolves.
Wow.
Women Stalag, Death Stalag. But the female antagonists are often portrayed with much detail, not only about their physical appearance, you know, obviously they're buxom and, you know, they're wearing really tight clothes with their pointed nipples, but also their emotional states, their personal background, their motivation, their desires. And some of them, you know, were fictional counterparts based on real figures of the Holocaust, such as Ilse Koch, you know, the witch of Buchenwald, or Irma Grezia, who, the hyena of Auschwitz, who we cover her in this week's Overkill. Probably the most sadistic of the female guards.
She's a sexual sadist as well, as opposed to like Ilse Koch, there's definitely something mental.
I think she's psychotic.
Mental problem.
Yeah.
She's psychotic. Irma was cold. She was an ice queen. She was calculated. I would be in fear of her if I had been in the camps. If I
and
had been in the
and
camps, yeah.
like her cold, emotionless eyes too at her trial,
Mm,
just accepting her death. But the thing is with her too, which is also alarming, she was like 21.
she was
It's a
when
child. I mean,
she died.
barely barely an adult. But
Mm,
she just did horrible things. So the thing that's interesting about the Stalags, which is also kind of surprising, never featured Jewish characters. Apart from an
okay.
occasional reference to the Jews in a few of the Stalags, but they refrained from involving Jews in any of these stories. And I mean, the focus was mostly on like Anglo-Saxon versus the axis of evil. No, it's interesting to think about it. Maybe it's because they reckon that as long as they could portray German brutality against British or American prisoners, the books could pass as like distasteful,
Hmm.
and violent, but it would avoid, censorship. Because I mean, think about it. This is like what, late 50s, early 60s. The wounds of the Holocaust were still fresh.
Oh,
I
completely
mean, they
fresh.
were, they were hunting down the Nazis and trying them, at this point. So I couldn't imagine like his publishers in Israel being like, yeah, let's have a few Jewish captives just being like whipped by these
Yeah.
merciless guards. I don't think that would have gone down as well. So as we were talking about before, the Stalags weren't the first pulp novels to combine like sex and swastikas. The inspiration came from the American men magazines that appeared in the late 50s and throughout the 60s, really popular in the US. And these torture mags kind of took the concept of like men's adventure to the
Hmm.
extreme. And so they had like stories of an unlimited violence alongside kind of sexy illustrations. Like a lot of the covers, I mean, the men typically, you know, rescued damsels in distress, who are being, tortured by the Nazis. And so they go in and save them. And I remember like I had a lot of these books as a kid, like these,
The
the
adventure
Anglos
magazines.
versus, well, a lot of them were like pulp novels
Yeah.
of just, and like graphic novels, but of like Anglos versus the Nazis, and they usually would have like damsels in distress and that the hero was on his way to rescue them from the evil Nazis. And so, but it was weird in the 60s. It kind of took a turn, and like the damsels in distress were kind of taken by like a male evil person. It was like a torturer. So it's like, and that wore like Third Reich regalia with swastikas. And so it kind of became like the men were being tortured by these evil Mengele type figures, and they were getting revenge and killing them all and escaping out of the camp, seizing, turning the tables and flipping it on the
I can
Nazis. And
smell the testosterone from
well,
here.
it made me wonder though why the change. I mean, I wonder if like did the did you want to have like female torturers to depict like the rise of feminism in
Well,
the
yeah, in the
60s?
60s it could be because suddenly women were now very sexual as well because of the pill.
Yeah.
Mm,
But also I think like the threat to masculinity that
of
feminism
course, yeah.
presented. So maybe that's why they were like, okay,
Yeah,
we're
that's
gonna.
definitely part of it, I would say, for sure.
But the US torture magazines were mostly about male dominance on
Hmm.
other men. But the Stalags definitely had a clear preference of female dominance over males. So maybe that's was the influence of feminism, or they
Yeah.
saw the rise of feminism, and that's why they presented the females as the antagonists. But it was the same kind of thing. It's like, um the unfolding of a hero protagonist exploits and overcoming evil and reinstating, the order of things. But the twist with the Stalags, as opposed to the American predecessors, was their brush with the evil involved acts of transgression and illicit pleasure. But yeah, it's the same narrative structure with every single book, which I think is kind of par for the course for adolescent young adult literature.
I have
But there
read
is
Virginia Hill books. Yes, can
well, there's
confirm.
like the initial downfall, captivity, transgression, breakout, revenge.
Yeah.
At the end, all of them ended up in revenge. And the weird thing about it, which is also kind of indicative with the names of a lot of the female Nazis, like Irma was called the Hyena of Auschwitz. Then later on, the Beast of
The
Belsen, or the
bitch, the
beauty, or
bitch.
the bitch of
Hmm.
Belsen. And I think Ilsa was the Wolf of Buchenwald.
Yeah,
She-
she was the bitch, wasn't she? The bitch of Buchenwald.
Yeah, so but she was a lot of them were like portrayed with like bestial and animalistic like metaphors were used to
Hmm.
to name these Nazi women, like the Nazi female Nazi guards. Stalags, you know, kept those names, and the Nazis were. I think part of it was like, they portrayed them as like beasts, animals, and they had like animal attributes underneath human skin. Female characters were likened to wolves and snakes and monsters. Ilsa, the she wolf of the SS. Irma, the hyena. But I think
Yeah.
part of it was, I think it was a way to like rationalize what they did. I think they were like, these Nazis couldn't have been human. They had to have been beasts because
Hmm.
a human never could have inflicted such torture and evil on another human. Yeah, I don't think they can even like rationalize that.
Especially when it comes to women as well. I mean,
Yeah,
yeah, there's
I
a
think that's
disconnect
amplified with
there.
women.
It
Like
totally is. Yeah.
to think like someone like Irma could be as just pathologically evil and so cruel and
At the
sadistic. Just
age of
it seems
20 as well.
at age of 20 just seems so like you know antithetical to a woman's nature. Like what we. So I think that's why we're like, oh, she's got to be a beast. She's a hyena. And
Hmm.
the other weird thing about in these stalags, the male Nazis are usually portrayed as like refined and effeminate compared to the brutish women.
Ooh,
Yeah, it's just like the change of the guards, was almost like a transformation of not only command, but gender role. It's like
right.
a gender bending there. Yeah,
Is
it's
that
kind of
also
weird.
putting down the Nazis though to be like the men were very weak? The Nazi men? Is it
I
like
think
there's
that
a
was,
bit of like subcontext there, isn't there?
I think that's part of it. It's just like,
Mm,
they're very effeminate and weak. It's the women who really were in charge.
yeah.
But so it's interesting to also note that the sex scenes in these books were actually like really conservative, kind
Oh,
of following like
what?
Hollywood. Yeah. Kind of
Mate, I've had
following
a
like,
chub and like what? Why are you doing this to me?
well, it kind of followed like Hollywood, cinema conventions at the time.
Oh, would the
Like,
camera just pan away?
yeah, it
Yeah.
was like, before there's like, heavy petting, and then there's a fade out, and then
Yeah.
it starts up as if nothing actually
Oh,
happened.
and then it cuts back to them. They're both smoking in bed.
Yeah, they're smoking in bed, and the guy isn't wearing a shirt, and she's got the covers pulled
Oh,
over.
I
Yeah,
can't
it's
believe that. It's all foreplay, no action.
well, I mean, maybe in the puritanical society of Israel in the '60s, where porn's banned, maybe that's all they needed.
It's saucy enough for them back then,
Saucy
probably.
enough.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, that's the thing. They give an example here in Stalag 13. It says, here's a typical sex scene. After drugging two prisoners into submission, the guard demonstrated for them what she wanted, and they pleased her, squeaking like hairy rats hanging from the vibrating body of an eel.
What?
But
That's
that's it.
erotica? That's Nazi erotica?
Well, it's not a penthouse forum, all right?
Squeaking like a
It's
hairy
not a
rat.
penthouse forum. There's no like graphic detail of shagging here. But yeah, I mean, I think that's all it took. And these books, as I mentioned before, underground bestsellers, really popular amongst like the adolescent males. Let's show some more covers of here's a few more
Nice.
just to get an idea of how sexy these books are. So, but I mean, you can kind of tell how they would appeal to teenage
This is
boys.
my favorite. Look at
With
those
the
Black
Panthers.
Panthers with the swastika on their foreheads.
Are those like little
Oh,
swastika yarmulkes that they're wearing? Is
they
that what those
are
are? They
little
look like it.
swastika skull caps. I like these babes pushing the coal,
Yeah, look at the
the
babes
coal
are
trucks.
working. I wonder if this is like we turn the tables and now the women are doing the work in the work camp. Oh
Well,
yeah, here's one. Look at her. She's got
oh
the
yeah,
dog. A
she's
lot of
like,
the who was the
yeah.
Nazi female guard that controlled the dogs? Was that in Belsen or was that in
They
Buchenwald?
all had like access to dogs, but the one who's most famous because she was called the woman with the dogs is Joanna Barman. Um,
But
she was
maybe think
very
about
evil. She was in Belsen.
these guys never had any access to porn. There's no internet. There's no Playboy magazine in Israel at the time. So these first Israeli born teens were coming of age. They're hitting
Mm.
adolescence. And seeing a cover like this, you could wank to this.
You could wank to the covers alone.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, well,
Yeah.
a lot of the books were just, there wasn't really there weren't pictures. Oh, yeah, this is one of the only Stalags that actually showed the Führer that just showed Hitler. Most of them would never
Yeah.
show that. Most of them showed like a buxom female guard. But these Stalags provided that sexual titillation in a society that completely repressed it. You know, it's like, and their parents were Holocaust survivors who just, they pretty much just like repressed all of that. They didn't discuss
Hmm.
anything about these camps. They didn't want to revisit that time.
I was going to
These
say, was it
European
not taught
Jews,
in school?
no, not at that time. I mean,
Wow.
first of all, it only happened. It just
Like, yeah,
recently happened,
yeah,
and
like 20
obviously, I
years
think they
before.
probably mentioned what happened, but I don't think they went into details. I don't think they were talking about like, oh, these female guards would have whips and like whip these men and whip the female troops and joy divisions. I don't think that wasn't commonplace at the time, so no one really knew about any of this. I mean, they knew that like 6 million Jews died. They knew that Jews now had a homeland in Israel, but their parents never talked about any of this stuff. What's interesting, here's a pretty descriptive explanation of why these books were so popular. A writer named Andrew O'Hare. He's O'Hay here, I guess. I don't know. It's Israeli name. I can't pronounce it. He said Stalags were a dream world midnight version of the Eichmann revelations, a
Oh.
Stockholm syndrome equation of evil with eros, a juvenile revenge fantasy all rolled into one. And
Yeah.
it's true. I mean, at the time, most people didn't know anything about what really happened in the Holocaust till the Eichmann trial. And that's what jettisoned these books into being so popular. So if you're that interested in the topic, there's a documentary by a recent documentary, I think it came out in like 2012 or something. Ari Libsker, he's a Israeli filmmaker. He directed a doc called Stalags, Holocaust and Pornography in Israel. And he says the Holocaust pics that he saw as he was growing up were the first pictures he'd ever seen of a naked woman. Whether these photographs were corpses at Bergen-Belsen or women forced to strip before a mass shooting in Latvia, these Holocaust images were the first time any boys saw naked women. And I got to say the same holds true for me. I mean, growing up in Southern Africa during the 80s, porn completely banned. They called them
Yeah.
blue movies. So you'd never have access to it. Like I couldn't go to my divorced father's nightstand and pull out a penthouse. That wouldn't happen in South Africa. So when I was like 8 years old, vividly remember watching because my father watched all the Holocaust movies, like Winds of War, the series, Shoah, like all the
Showa, I was
Holocaust
about to
movies.
say.
We had to watch it because my dad wanted us to learn. My dad was very adamant about that, about learning what happened. And so we'd watch this. And I remember, seeing like staring at the titties. Like while the Nazis are forcing these women to strip, I was staring at the titties. And it was giving my little 8-year-old shrimp dick a shame boner. I gotta say, I mean, I didn't understand. I was confused by it, but I was just like, it's got a nice rack there.
I remember definitely seeing Holocaust documentaries when I was younger, and it probably would have been the first time that I'd have seen normal people naked.
I mean, you might have seen like a National Geographic or something like
Yeah, I mean, but
Tribespeople or
that's
something.
yeah, but to see like that amount of people naked as well before they're getting shot. I was watching Holocaust documentaries and reading books about the Holocaust when I was like 10. Yeah.
Children were confronted with these images in these films. So here's a clip from Ari Libsker's film Stalags, Holocaust and Pornography in Israel. Let me start this up. In age, however, the National Library in Jerusalem, you can make an appointment with them and go see the books.
Wow.
I mean, if you're supervised, you're not like able to just read them alone in a room with a tub of Vaseline, but you can you can actually go and check out the actual books because they preserve them. But the weird thing is, and then the documentary does a good job of explaining like the attraction, and the sexual titillation of these books. A male fan said it was the only jerk off material around. Another interviewee remembers a segment where the genitals of a prisoner are smeared in honey by a female guard to attract wasps. I mean, is that not sexual?
That's completely sexual.
In this conservative era of that time, I mean, this was like the only sexual material you could get. And the first like adolescent sexual encounters that these kids had. So what's interesting to find out about it is why these books became so popular. I mean, like what I can understand, it's like you see, there's no porn and like where it came from, but like the fact that they were even written, like what was the inspiration behind it and where it came from. So the books emerged from this culture of silence that surrounded the Holocaust, particularly in Israel.
Right.
No one really, I mean, no one talked about the lurid details. He just said it was an atrocity. 6 million Jews died brutally and by the hands of this evil, this Axis power, the
Hmm.
Nazis. But no one really said what went on in the camps. There was like Elie Wiesel who wrote Night, and Primo Levi, and these people that wrote like almost like a flowery description, like it was almost like a French existentialist, like Camus or something, describing like the experience of being in the camps, but not saying like, oh yeah, they whipped us and pulled our pants down and did horrible things. So for most of the adolescents, they couldn't really, you didn't really know anything about what really happened in the trial until they read the book House of Dolls. Came out in
Okay.
1955. This is a novel by writer Yehiel Denur, who was a Holocaust survivor who wrote under the pseudonym Kosetnik 135633. We have a picture of Kosetnik here.
Gosh.
I actually have been searching for this guy's book. This book, House of Dolls, it's like $200, like to get an original copy of
Wow.
it. Yeah, really hard to find. So there he is. There's Kosetnik.
Is that the Eichmann trial?
Yeah, this is actually
Yeah.
from the Eichmann trial.
Hmm.
He's kind of notorious for the trial because he gave this like
He's the guy who
rambling.
faints.
He fainted
He's
and he
the
gave this like
fainter.
rambling
Yeah.
tirade against Eichmann and the Nazis and then fainted. Um, but the book, I've been looking for the book. So Konzentnik is a German acronym for Konzentrationslager, which is a
Hmm.
concentration camp. And
Yeah.
in camp slang, they just called a Kosetnik was a prisoner. Oh, there's Eichmann. There's Eichmann
Hmm.
behind glass. Kosetnik is a prisoner, and 135633 is a reference to the number that was tattooed on his arm in
Okay.
Auschwitz-Birkenau. So
Yes.
Kosetnik was in Auschwitz for 2 years. He was a prisoner.
Hmm.
As part of the trial here, they brought out the prison garb and they asked him like, "Is this what is this the pajamas? Is this what you wore?" And he's like, "Yeah, that's what you wore in Planet Auschwitz." He describes it as like a separate planet, like almost like a multiverse, like it was a separate universe of what happened.
I can see
Well, I think
that.
it's a way that he can rationalize what he experienced. So House of Dolls was actually his second book. And this came out before the Eichmann trial, preceded the Eichmann trial, preceded Stalags, and it was a wild success. It was translated into a dozen languages. And so in the last 50 pages, the hero's sister, Daniela, becomes a prostitute in the women's labor camp. She's forced to join the camp's Freuden Bataillon. I can't even say it in German, but Joy Division,
Of
and which
course.
is actually it's a group of prostitutes that serve as the German soldiers, also where the famous band got their name.
Hmm.
The girls selected for Joy Division have Feldhur, military whore, tattooed between their breasts. The
Wow.
tattooing really happened, although the brothel at Auschwitz was frequented only by capos and other privileged prisoners, not by the SS. The girls suffer an ardent and brutal lesbian boss named Elsa, who forces them to strip naked and then bends them over a chair and lashes them. This is in that book. This is his description of the book. No one read. There was nothing published like this at the time. For Israeli kids, you know, this was exciting. You got
This
to
is
admit.
scandalous. Yeah.
I mean, it's like, and it directly influenced the Stalag series that came out of the schlocky sex and violence pulp novels that, that we were looking at before. But this book predated the Stalags by, I don't know what, like 5 years.
Hmm.
Um, and wasn't seen as being, pulp, schlocky sex novel, like pornographic novel. Denor was considered the first writer who wrote in Hebrew about the terrible things that happened that he experienced firsthand in the war. He, in a sense, you could almost say he was like the Bukowski of Holocaust literature.
So are you
So,
saying that he maybe took information and spun it a little?
Well, he probably
Yeah.
exaggerated certain
That's what
details,
I mean.
but he genuinely experienced this and expressed it luridly. He didn't hold
Hmm.
back.
Yeah.
He wasn't trying to express it like. I'm not trying to disparage Elie Wiesel. Night's a beautiful book, but you read it, you're not reading about women getting bent over chairs and being whipped.
And
You're hearing,
whipped.
yeah, you're hearing more of like a beautiful but horrific depiction of torture, but told
Hmm.
almost from like an existentialist point of view, you know.
Hmm.
Whereas I think Katsetnik was telling it as a realist, like a pragmatist.
Yeah, it was
Like this is what
giving
he
the raw
experienced.
facts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Eichmann trial proved a pivotal turning point for the Israeli perception of Holocaust survivors because the horrors of the camps were examined in graphic detail and on television.
Hmm.
And so Danur Katsanik was a witness at the trial, and he was known publicly already for this book. And his testimony about Auschwitz ended him with rambling about the camp and the horrors of the camp and fainting.
Yeah.
Right in front of we saw Eichmann previously, but Eichmann was behind glass, and he saw this man like in front of him, just like gesticulating wildly and screaming at him, and then just fainting.
That
Of
footage
all
is
the
is in
witnesses,
documentaries. It's on YouTube as well for anyone who wants
yeah,
to
you
watch
you
it.
can see it.
Mm.
And very provocative. Of all the witnesses at the trial, I mean, that event gripped the Jewish world in 1961, and he's like the Israeli public, the figure of the Israeli public would remember most vividly. Face him directly in his glass booth. Um, and so when he was asked by the prosecutor at the Eichmann trial about why he hid his identity behind the pseudonym Kasetnik, he claims it was not a pen name. I don't regard myself as a writer and a composer of literary material. This is a chronicle of the planet of Auschwitz. I was there for about 2 years. Time there was not like it is here on Earth. Every fraction of a minute passed on a different scale of time. And then the inhabitants of this planet had no names. They had no parents, nor did they have any children. There, they didn't dress in the way we dress here. They were not born there. They did not give birth. They breathed according to a different law of nature. They didn't live, nor did they die, according to the laws of this world. They were human skeletons, and their name and number was Kasetnik. They're prisoners.
Wow.
Yeah. So and then they were like, "Well, is this what you wore?" And he's like, "Oh yeah, that's what we wore on Planet Auschwitz." You know. And so they should, which must have been traumatic to be like, "Oh great, get to see that again. My striped pajamas."
Yeah.
What's interesting too? He wrote a book later, which I've also been trying to track down, called Shviti, which is it's called a vision. And what it is, like under LSD treatment, he had like in the 60s, he went under LSD to revisit the trauma
Oh, I know about that. Yeah, I've
and
heard
talk
about
about what
this.
actually happened. And yeah, one of the things he said that one of the traumatic memories that were brought on by the trial was the eyes of those being led to the gas chambers. He said, like, I see them and they're staring at me. Just every single person staring at me, just with no life in their eyes. In
Has it?
fact,
So the books haven't been sorry, but the books haven't been reprinted.
no, well, House of Dolls was reprinted in the 80s.
Yeah,
And you can find it there for a little bit cheaper than, but the
the
original
original.
manuscripts are like $200 or something.
Wow.
Shviti you can find though, like 50, $60 for like a hard
Mhm.
copy.
Mhm.
I did find a copy of his book Atrocity, which
Yes.
is about Auschwitz and what he experienced there. But that was the thing. I mean, so at the time, his books were actually read in Israeli high schools as an account of what happened at the Holocaust. And I think that's kind of like you're reading something like that, and that's Stalags is just an expansion of that.
Mhm.
You know, um, but many Jewish historians now, when they look back at it, are very critical of Katsetnek and how he wrote about what happened in the camps. They said that he mixed graphic violence with sentimental kitsch, much like the pulp novels, the Stalags, and distorted history in the process. In a sense, they said he wrote Holocaust porn rather than a true account of Shoah. He turned Shoah into a spectacle. Just it's like showing
Yeah.
grotesque scene painting rather than describing the true horror of what occurred there.
I think he is describing the true horror because there definitely there is a sexual element to the Nazis. There's no denying it. The Nazis, there is sex there, and they indeed had orgies in the camps. The camp commandants, they were
Oh
all
yeah,
boffing
no, the
each
SS
other.
were very lustful. I mean, they had
Mm.
orgies. Everyone was. I mean, didn't we were saying in Overkill that like Mengele didn't give herpes or
Syphilis. He gave
gonorrhea, syphilis
syphilis to
to several
the bitch
women.
Belson. He
Yeah.
gave, yeah.
So
So
no, they were definitely fucking. There's a
so I
lot of
think it's an
fucking going on in
important
these camps.
aspect that probably should be taught in school, is like the kind of overt sexualism about them. I don't think it's something that should be ashamed of or hidden.
Well, I think what's interesting about it is the attitude towards describing the Holocaust and
Yeah.
explaining what happened. The Holocaust kind of shifted. So in the first few decades, right after the war, the show is often, at least in Israel, a theme for fantasies of violence, perversion, degradation. In a sense, I think they're trying to like degrade this character, the Nazis. Like these are beasts, these are animals, these sexual creatures that they were,
Yeah.
devoid of any humanity. But later on, it became an occasion for high speculations about God and man and man's
Mm.
cruelty towards one another and the destiny of the West. I think that was the shift, and that's kind of what like Elie Wiesel and preceding authors, authors like Primo Levi and other people who wrote about the Holocaust didn't go into like the lurid detail of Kasetnik. But what's interesting is his book is still respected. There's a literary prize given in his name. Um, Still part of the high school curriculum. But why should Stalags be reviled, but his books revered?
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yeah.
and I think that's what a lot of critics are saying. It's like, so if we're reading House of Dolls in high school, then why aren't we reading Stalag 13?
Because they're not real. The Stalags are smart.
Well, that's what they're claiming. A lot of what happened in his books, and Setnik books, the factuality is also a bit sketchy. They said one of the doubtful plot points in the House of Dolls is the placement of a Jewish woman in Auschwitz's so-called pleasure block. They said though the death camp did have brothel of sex slaves, and Jewish women were often raped by the Nazis, the actual, pleasure blocks
Mm-hmm.
would never have a Jew there. They had like German porn or German whores.
Yeah.
And so they said that this is kind of a, bit deceptive. He was obviously exaggerating a lot of facts for the book. Maybe he did. Maybe he's a little bit of artistic license there. Other survivors and historians say that that his books, along with the Stalags, did a lot of damage. It's they portrayed the Holocaust as being porn and sensationalistic, and feeds a voyeuristic desire to see atrocities and fantasize about them, than rather to like learn from it.
But of course, there's a voyeuristic aspect to it. It's like there's a voyeuristic aspect to all. Like it's like how I was saying that I want to see the true crime photos of dead ass fucked women. You want to be the voyeur because it helps you understand by
Understand what
seeing
happened?
this footage. Yeah, by seeing this shocking footage.
Yeah,
of,
but you
like,
don't have to wank for
naked
30 minutes
people.
afterwards.
Well, that depends on what type of person you are, isn't it?
But I don't know. I mean, reading through, like, the more I read about him, and obviously I haven't read the book, but Katsutnik was there. That guy experienced it,
Yeah.
and he was describing his own experience. In fact, one of the passages I read about him, Mengele, because Katsutnik was a twin. He and his twin brother were
Ooh.
both there, and he was like, I don't know, in his late teens. Mengele passed him over and claimed that though he was a walking skeleton, which there's a term they use called musulman,
Yeah.
which is like you're nearing death, like death is near because you're a walking skeleton. Mengele spared him. He said he sensed something indestructible in his eyes, which is kind of strange because you'd think like, oh, I'm gonna, destroy him. But
Wow.
Mengele was he's not
Spared by the angel of death.
Yeah. But so, after the Eichmann trial and people heard about a lot of these graphic depictions of the true horror that went on there, the Stalags just took off in popularity, broke all records, publishing records. Hundreds of thousands of copies were sold at these kiosks, at Tel Aviv bus stations. I mean, think about it. I think a lot of people were dealing with trauma, and maybe this is one way to deal with it, to cope with what happened. It's like young men identified with these American and British soldiers who were imprisoned in the camps and took revenge. I think a lot of them, didn't understand like how weak their parents were. Like, why'd you give in to the Nazis? Why'd you just, you know, obediently march into a gas chamber? Like, why not fight
Yeah,
back?
because it hadn't been taught to them why the Nazis were so powerful.
Yeah,
So,
exactly. I don't think they
yeah.
had a true understanding. I mean, they were
Mhm.
also adolescents. So here it is. These books, these stalags must have been very empowering. It's like here's a British soldier who's flipping the
Yeah,
bill
taking
here
the
on
power
turning
back.
the tables, taking the power back, and raping his tormentors.
Mm.
You know, and so these stalags ended up like kind of morphing into like a fictional counterpart of Eichmann's testimony. And so the eroticism not only revolves around doesn't only revolve around the act of sexual intercourse. What's interesting about it, because I mentioned before that the depiction of sexual intercourse is very conservative, like almost follows like Hollywood conventions. They don't really go into it, but it's the eroticism of dominance, humiliation, and servitude, the
Mhm.
sadomasochistic aspect of these books. And I think that's what kind of were really popular to these kids. It's weird to think about, like, they obviously probably didn't know what S&M was, but they were turned on by it.
Yeah.
They were turned on by the sight of, this Ilsa Koch blonde buxom woman in like, leather SS outfit with a riding crop, like whipping these guys, putting a
Oh,
boot
come
in their
on.
back.
Who is it?
Ah, it's hot,
It's
you know.
hot.
So I read a kind of a very academic type essay on this. I got into this. It's interesting. It's called Holocaust Perversions: The Stalags, Pulp Fiction, the Eichmann Trial, and they just kind of were showing the correlation, the success of the Stalags from the Eichmann trial. It's by a couple of professors named Pinchevsky and Brand, and they say that the Stalags constituted a text upon which Israeli youth negotiated issues of power and identity via their parents' generation and this new Zionist ideology.
Mhm.
And part of the because Zionism was so new. I mean, they just moved to Israel. They were the first generation of Israelis. So they're technically the new Jews, and they were strong, they're courageous, they fought off the Arabs, they had like the 6 Day War and all
Right,
that.
I see.
And they're the opposite of the old diaspora Jew from Europe who were weak and cowardly, and were dominated by these Nazi forces and feminine in a sense,
Yeah, I can
you
totally
know.
understand it.
So here's the Stalag. And I mean, I kind of do feel like this is sort of a convoluted academic hypothesis, but I think it could very well be true. Subconsciously, the Stalag was like the new Jew taking place, the new powerful Jew taking place of the old weak one,
Yeah,
like a
I can see that.
generational shift.
Mhm.
Um, Scenes of women dominating men and the reversal of weak and strong kind of suggest the roles being reversed, and then the whole question of like, what would we have done if we were there? We'd have gotten revenge. And finally, here, the other thing about the Stalags, it's almost like the Stalags kind of prove the right to punish and kind of justify that, which is what the Israelis were doing. I mean, they were like hunting down these Nazis, hanging them. And so bringing Eichmann to trial, I mean, Eichmann, probably one of the most infamous Nazis that
Of
survived,
course.
and bringing him to justice and led to sentencing and punishment. I mean, that had to be gratifying. Historical
Totally.
justice, means revenge. And that's, what happened at the end of all, the conclusion of all these stalags is we got back and we raped our tormentors. We killed them. And so, I mean, I think that's kind of what happened. So the stalags only had a short life. They were only around for a few years. And the one that killed it all was a book called I Was Colonel Schultz's Private Bitch. That that was
Wow.
the book. I was looking for the cover. I couldn't find the cover, but that was
Mm.
the most outrageous and infamous Stalag, and it was the one that ended the genre. And it was told from the viewpoint of a female prisoner forced to join a camp brothel. The protagonist was a Jewish woman, a French Jewish woman, captured by a Nazi officer who makes her his dog. And then she gets
Mm.
revenge and he becomes her dog.
Now I want to be your dog.
Yeah.
Now you want to be my dog.
It's like the Stooges song.
Yeah.
Apparently, young Israelis, and I think Israeli censors in general, were like, the British pilots who, had the misfortune of like landing into a camp and becoming POWs. That made sense. But a Jewish woman in that role becoming a dog to this Nazi soldier, that was a little bit too much.
It
And
went too far, did it? Was that
I think
the
it
straw
pushed
that
it
broke
pushed the
the
envelope.
camel's
It
back?
broke, they
Mhm.
stepped over the line.
Yeah.
And so at that point, they're like, these publishers are disseminating pornography, and they shut it down. They hunted every copy of I Was Colonel Schultz's Private Bitch, and they shut it down.
Wow.
And then that was the short-lived life of the Nazi porn Stalag.
My word.
literature. However, though the Stalags, the literary fiction here was short-lived, it did kind of engender a whole new genre of film, Nazi exploitation film.
Mhm.
And so this is kind of like late 60s, definitely throughout the 70s. It started these basically it was just like the film version of the Nazi Stalags. The first one was a movie called Love Camp 7, which came out in 1969. That was the first one, and that just kind of ushered in a whole, slew of these films. Ilsa, She-Wolf of the SS, definitely the most famous, which also had a string of sequels and ripoffs. And then there was like the more like artsy side of this Nazi exploitation wave, with movies like Liliane Cavani's The Night Porter and Pier Paolo's Salo, 120 Days of Sodom.
Mhm.
Did you ever see that?
Oh, of course I have.
It's great film.
It is.
So the earliest one was Love Camp 7, set in a Nazi camp, and definitely like the vanguard of the modern women in prison genre that came out in the 70s. The story resembled like a true adventure pulp yarn, similar to the Stalags. In order to rescue a Jewish scientist, 2 female agents infiltrate a Nazi Joy Division camp where prisoners are kept as slaves for German officers. So they had to become slaves. They had to become, prostitutes, go undercover
to get the job done.
There are scenes of bootlicking, humiliation, whipping, torture, lesbianism, and near rape, culminating in a violent and bloody escape.
Wow.
Some of the characters are great. There's a cruel and perverse commandant, a lesbian doctor, sadistic guards who abuse the prisoners and strip them naked. And oddly enough, a sympathetic German who tried to help them. It's kind of weird.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
We all know Germans don't have hearts.
Yeah. It's like, come on, they're cruel beasts. The most infamous and influential one of all is Ilsa, She-Wolf of the SS. Came out in 1974, and it was from Canada. Canada was churning out these Nazi exploitation films. Do we have a pic of Ilsa?
We do.
So these movies came out. So this is what? This is like 1974. Mostly came out for the Grindhouse like drive-in circuits. Could you imagine going to a drive-in to see this?
This is not a film that you
She-Wolf of
should
the
be
SS?
watching with a bunch of strangers. This is a film you watch in your house alone or with a partner.
I could imagine watching it with my girlfriend in a car, but it'd be kind of, I don't know, probably a little obscene. The series starred Diane Thorne, an impossibly buxom death camp commandant whose insatiable sexual appetites compelled her to humiliate graphically, torture, mutilate, castrate, and generally exterminate any man who didn't leave her satisfied.
Such a fun film. Highly recommend this film. It's very, very silly. I love it.
But they touch on a lot of taboo topics like Mengele's scientific test, the human experimentation. She did a test, for example, Ilsa has a male and a female prisoner flogged to death to prove her theory that women can endure more pain than men. So I was looking for a clip that we can play here on the YouTubes. But there's too much nudity. Pretty much every scene, there's like at least breasts.
Yeah.
But here's a scene, no nudity, but definitely sexually charged.
To give you a little taster for those who've not seen it.
It's been a pleasure to have had you with us, Herr General.
Oh, wait.
They shall be leaving early in the morning. shortly after dawn.
I think you're a little off. We're at an hour and 16. I think you're at a minute and 16.
Oh my God, you
It's gonna
said
be nudity.
116.
Yeah, I'm at an hour and 16.
Oh, here we go. I can get to that.
Yeah, here we are. Here, let me
Don't put
Mm.
116 in.
yeah.
So soon.
One's duty must come first.
Of course, General.
But no ceremonies, please. I shall just depart when I am ready.
He's
Have
about
you
to
any
take
further
off.
service to the General?
Yes?
Diane Thorne. Sexy.
She is hot.
Uh-oh.
Oh.
She's got the whole SS uniform
Oh.
on.
Yeah.
9. 9.
9.
Not the top,
He wants her to keep the SS uniform on.
the breeches only.
Who can blame him?
Just take the breeches off. He's like turned on too. That's the thing. The audio. So this is like one of the only scenes where there's no nudity, but the audio is great in this scene. Really kind of illustrates how amazing this movie is. So she's slipping off her breeches. The guy looks like he's about to have a heart attack. Take off the pants.
Please.
Take off the pants. I wonder if he's a Canadian actor, like a famous.
He's gonna
Canadian.
cum in his pants. There's no. None of the men's in here is famous.
The boots.
Oh, don't make her
Put-
take off
put
the
them back on.
boots. Oh yeah.
No, he
You
wants
gotta
the boots back
put the boots back on. This movie is great.
He's great. I've seen it a whole bunch of times. Of course I have.
I need some.
Look at them like getting down on the ground.
Can you understand? Come. You're like some blonde goddess,
She is kind of like a
is.
blonde goddess.
She
the
is a
earth
blonde
mother of
goddess.
us all.
He's lying prostrate on the ground here.
Diane Fawn has a diamond level pussy.
For me, there's but one way.
This is great. Had to play the whole scene.
One path to pleasure. Do you understand? Come, please.
I know this is the part to pay attention to the audio.
Liberty.
In Liberty, or what do you say? Is that German?
You must. No,
Such a great
on
scene.
me.
She's totally pissing on him.
She's pissing on him.
She's pissing on him. Yeah, there you go. It's a great movie. I highly recommend it. It's a good family viewing. I think you can see it on Disney Plus. Excellent movie. But the character is based on the Witch of Buchenwald, Ilse Koch, wife of the Buchenwald concentration camp, Karl Otto Koch.
Mhm.
She was known for having perverse sexual dalliances with the prisoners and had lampshades made from human skin.
She did. She's very, very
Yeah.
psychotic woman.
Very evil lady. This movie was so successful when it came out that they had a host of sequels. There was Ilsa, Harem Keeper of the Oil Sheiks, Ilsa, the Tigress of Siberia.
Oh wow, she went to Siberia. I've not seen that one.
Yeah, and it spawned a whole industry of Italian-made Nazi dominatrix splatter porn. So there
Yeah,
are a
like
bunch of them that came out.
do you think like Dario Argento and all the like the Italian wave of like violent films, do you think that would have even occurred if this hadn't have been going at the same time?
Well, I mean, I think it definitely was an offshoot, but
Yeah.
related for sure. I
Mm.
mean, some of the titles in these Italian ones were like Nazi Love Camp 27, Salon
Yeah.
Kitty, The Gestapo's Last Orgy.
Oh, I've seen Salon Kitty. That's a good one.
Yeah, it's pretty great.
Mm.
And then there was like the art house films that came out, like Salon Kitty would be considered by Tinto Brass. Liliana Cavini's The Night Porter. Piero Paolo Pasolini's Salo, 100 Days of Sodom, as well as The Beast in Heat. Did you ever see that?
No, but I want
La Bestia
to.
in Calor.
Yeah.
And Caesar Connerari's The Last Orgy of the Third Reich.
Mhm.
You know, a major influence on the genre, you might have seen this one, was the controversial art house production The Damned. Came
I
out in
have seen The Damned.
1969.
It's an
Yeah.
amazing film.
Directed by Luchino Visconti. This is a good movie. I've seen this too, not for a while. It's about the rise and fall of the German industrialist family in the Third Reich, and it featured an orgy of homosexual SA men, and depicted one of the main characters who eventually joins the SS as a troubled multiple pervert, posing in a transvestite outfit, molesting little girls, and finally committing incest with his own mother.
Wow.
Yeah. So while the Ilsa series and some of the art house films were profitable, most of them were just total flops. And the whole genre of Nazi
You
exploitation
don't
porn
say.
kind of vanished by the mid 80s. Although, you know, to another side here is the Mitchell brothers actually had full on Nazi porn as well. Produced
Did
Nazi porn. Yeah, like S&M porn films, such as Hot Nazis, Nazi Love Island with John Holmes and Seika, 70s porn star.
Wow. Oh, that'll be very late on then. That'll be when John Holmes has the AIDS.
I think it was like early, like late 80s, early
Yeah,
80s.
that'll be he's nearly dead.
Hitler's Harlot. That's another one. And just to kind of conclude it. So the Nazi genre didn't, you know, obviously kind of faded away into obscurity in the 80s. I think they kind of stopped doing a lot of these movies, but there's been homages. Did you ever see the 2007 film by Robert Rodriguez, Quentin Tarantino, Grindhouse? Did you watch that?
Sadly, I have seen that. Sadly.
So in it, and I forgot about this. I haven't seen it in a long time. There's a great. I love the vignette with Kurt Russell.
Kurt Russell's the only good thing about that.
It's great.
Awful film.
But there was a scene. I didn't even remember this, but Rob Zombie had a trailer for a fake film called Werewolf Women of the SS, starring Nicolas Cage and Udo Kier. Do you remember this?
Either. No,
I didn't remember this either. And I guess it was like a fake trailer. And Rob Zombie's like, basically, I had two ideas. It was either going to be a Nazi movie or a women in prison film. And then I went with the Nazis. And there's all those movies like Ilsa She-Wolf of the SS and Fraulein Devil and Love Camp 7. I've always found that to be a bizarre genre. So I think he was just kind of paying homage. You know? So the Stalag novels might be deemed crude, vulgar, kind of disrespectful to what actually happened, the true horrors of the Holocaust. But in a sense, I think it helped the children, you know, the second generation whose parents are in the Holocaust, come to terms with what actually happened. I mean, it's like it's hard to really imagine the unspeakable horror that happened in it. And I think these books kind of help them rationalize it, possibly fantasize about it. You know, it probably gave rise. I mean, definitely attracted a morbid curiosity, but it, you know, undeniably gave rise to a forbidden sexual fantasy. You know, a subversive indulgence, and the ultimate evil is a form of erotic catharsis. And the same thing you can be said with the Night Stalker.
Of course.
Like the goth sluts fantasizing about having sex with the Night Stalker. I wonder how many of them would have actually had sex with that vile creature.
I think they were all there to try and do exactly that.
But I think that's what we do. I mean, we're humans. A lot of us, you know, it's like we eroticize evil. We fetishize the forbidden. You know, and I think what's not than dressing up and playing Nazi?
There's absolutely nothing wrong with it.
It's perfectly healthy, people.
Don't judge me.
What I want to know is how many listeners right now are downloading Ilsa She-Wolf of the SS?
Well, I imagine that a lot of people who listen to this podcast have seen that film multiple times.
Vile perverts. A lot of them. You all are. You know who you are. People's episode 777 here is Sick and Wrong. It's kind of a milestone episode. 777.
777.
Yeah, didn't even realize that.
Nazi nasties.
We have news stories coming up next. Phone calls a little later in the show. We actually have the humiliating loss of virginity stories. Very awkward. Some of these are really awkward. So we're going to start playing those. But first, before we get to that, here's a word about our Patreon page.
I'm just going to go and grab a drink.
Yeah, I got to take a piss.
Oh yeah, the Machete trailer. Machete's an awful film too. I
Machete.
remember that
Who's
one.
in
I remember
that?
that one more than the Nicolas Cage one.
Who's in Machete? I like this guy's like Diane Thorne looks like a bloke, a big breasted bloke. That's hilarious. Cramps, you were getting off hearing the pissing, guaranteed. Oh, is that what he said? Ich liebe dich. I love you. I guess I didn't realize that. Oh yeah, Machete is Danny Trejo, isn't he? I gotta check that out. I think the sound was a little off in that clip. You know, I was looking for something from Ilsa the She-Wolf, and there's a fucking this torture scene where she's shoving like a lit like torch or something around this girl's snatch. And I was trying to find a good clip, and I was like, I don't think I can play any of this shit on YouTube. Fucking gnarly. Gnarly. But yeah, it's pretty kind of interesting topic. Every now and then, our listeners suggest some pretty cool shit. You know what? Danny Trejo has a taco place with like vegan tacos in LA called it's just called Trejo's Tacos. It's fucking good. I've been there a couple times. There's one up the street. Yeah, wasn't it a little out of sync? I'll probably have to fix that in post pro. Although I might have to actually take that whole clip out because fucking YouTube, dude, they shut you down. But yeah, it was a little out of sync there. It's tough to do it because I can't share my screen from my laptop.
We did our best.
Yeah, we fucking tried, motherfuckers. Film elitist here. Is that on your end or is that mine?
That was me.
All right.
I think it was.
Oh. I thought it was Facebook or what? All right.
What?
Right. Oi. I gotta take a piss. I'll be right back.
I've always wanted to go to Danny Trejo's donuts. Have a donut from Danny Trejo, and he does the tacos as well. But I don't like, like Krispy Kremes. And they do all the weird, like, flavors where they chuck everything on. I'm not a fan of that. I just want to try, like, a jam donut from Danny Trejo. I want to try Danny Trejo's jam. And I want to eat his taco. YouTube has gone to the dogs. You remember a few years back when that YouTuber went into their offices and was going to shoot them all? The YouTuber. Disgusting sound. I enjoyed that. I didn't know about the Staligs.
Yo.
He's got his light beer. What is the point in light beer?
Fucking light beer, man. Miller Lite's the best.
I was saying that I really want to try Danny Trejo's donuts and tacos.
I didn't realize he had donuts there. Hey,
yeah.
TP, where do you live? Where there's no vegan stuff. Is there vegan stuff in Cumbria? They don't have it in Cumbria?
Yeah, I got a couple of
vegan restaurants. Yeah, I thought there's like
most places do like options as well. They'll do like vegan and gluten free when you go. Most places do that now.
Yeah, I kind of figured it's not like it's that
yeah.
That guy's got a good point. If Diane Thorne isn't filmed in Sybil Shepherd's Soft Focus, you wouldn't get hard.
Hey, it's different strokes for different folks. I think she's perfect in that film because she is playing this dominating, terrifying woman. And if she had been like softer or more feminine looking, I don't think it would have worked. It wouldn't have been convincing. Because she's like 5'11". She's got these big old titties. She's got an incredible body.
You know, is she still alive?
Diane
she-
Fawn, no, she died recently.
Oh, Diane Thorne did. What else did
Yeah.
she do besides Elsa? I'm trying to find the fucking motherfuckers asking me about the alcohol percentage in light beer.
Light beer. Light beers are all like 2%, aren't they?
Is it? No way. That low?
Yes. Yeah. You're just basically drinking
Fuck.
spicy water.
It's 4.2%.
How can it be
Miller Lite,
4.2?
Coors-
Oh,
that's what
Miller
they're-
Lite is.
Yeah, Miller Lite,
So
Coors
how?
Light, Bud Light.
What's Miller normal then?
MGD.
Miller normal. Yeah. What is it normal?
Miller percentage 4.6.
Oh, so it's only like you might as well just drink
Yeah.
a
I
Miller.
probably should just drink a Miller. Well, I think it's slightly better for you.
How?
Well, it's
How is it
2.5. Whoa, 2.5. Light
It's
beer is 2.5 in Australia.
Yeah, I was about to say light beer over here is like considered 2%.
What is
Hello,
VB?
cramps. VB is not a light beer, mate. So it's not a light beer.
But what's
I
the
think it's
percentage of VB?
5. I think
Was
it's
it 5?
5%. Yeah, which
Oh,
is
alright.
always what I aim for in my lagers. 5%.
4%,
to-
the same as Foster's.
Hey!
Yeah, MGD is my favorite beer. Although I like High Life. High Life has 4.6 as well.
I just look for 5%. I do really miss
That's
I
exactly.
miss
Light means
Castlemaine,
lower
man.
calories. You miss what?
Castlemaine Forex.
What is that? I've
Saying
never had
the
that one.
flavor is light, not the alcohol. So then you might as well just drink a beer.
Well, no, it's the calories. It's lower caloric. Yeah, it is
Do
kind
you-
of beer. It's like it's like licking the back of a fucking battery.
Do you
It's
have
like-
shandies?
Shandies.
Yeah, shandies where you do half beer, half lemonade.
What?
A,
I've
la-
never
a
even
lager
heard of that.
shandy. A shandy.
Is it good?
Well, yeah.
Oh wow, a summer shandy.
No,
I never even heard of
you-
it.
We never call it summer shandy. You just ask for a shandy. Half a lager shandy.
Do you guys have clamato?
No, but I do know what they are. No, that's the tomato juice, isn't it? And then you
Well, it's
the
clam
glass.
juice. No, it's
Yeah.
clam juice with it's like clam tomato. It's fucking gross. That was one
You
thing
mean
that
clams or clams.
well, that was the one thing that
Yeah.
fucking never understood about Wackerly. God, motherfucking loved clamato.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, I always fucking love clamato. Yeah.
So what? It's a tomato juice made with clams.
I guess it's fucking gross.
And
It's
then you
fucking
put beer
gross.
in that.
No, it's like Budweiser with clams.
Right, because my buddy, he drinks that when he goes to the baseball. He always puts a picture up on like Instagram or whatever of that drink. And I remember asking him, but I didn't know. So it's got clam in it.
Yeah, it's like it guess it tastes like fucking clam. It's gross. It's
We're
fucking gross.
clamming. Hope you like clamming too.
I like
clamming.
Southern Shandy drinking poofter.
It's considered right when my mate who works a long time in a bar, a guy came up to him and was like, "Half a lager shandy, please." And my mate said, "Sorry, we don't make cocktails." Hey. He's like, "Order a real drink. Have a real drink. Just have a lager. Don't have a fucking shandy." Shandy is kind of what you'd give a kid, or yeah. Sometimes on a bad hangover, you might have a shandy to get you back into it. Oh, I had a bad hangover this morning.
Do you drink a shandy? Well, we drink a Bloody Mary.
We were talking
Is it-
about good breakfast drinks recently.
Fucking Bloody Mary is a good.
Ugh,
breakfast.
snake bite. Ugh.
Uh,
I can't drink cider. Cider just gives me an instant headache. It's the sugar in it.
I've never liked that.
And I don't like all those like flavored like copper bugs. My Swedish mate says that he thinks it's hilarious that men drink Copperbergs over here because it's like Lambrini or something. It's like a woman's drink. And all the young men's love to drink
What's
a
it called?
Copperberg here. Copperberg. It's like different flavored ciders.
Oh,
It's from Sweden or Scando. I'll have a Swedish person yelling at me. It's not from there.
Scando.
A Scando country.
All right, let's get going here.
Yes, let's
You
do
ready?
this. I'm ready, mate.
Ready, Mike?
Let's do it.
All right. So the first story we have here has to do with a perverted doctor.
Ooh.
Yeah,
Is it
perverted
Mengele?
doctor. No, he's more like Dr. Huxtable.
I wish it was
Remember
about
Bill
Mengele.
Cosby's doctor? He was a perverted doctor, though, Mengele. I'm
I
sure
could
he.
talk
I'm
about
sure he would have
Mengele
done this as well.
all day long. Yeah.
A doctor molested veteran patients after using acupuncture to immobilize them. Is now eyeing an appeal. Yeah, I didn't even know you could use acupuncture for that.
I didn't know it could immobilize you.
Yeah, that's what I was saying, Dr. Huxtable. Could you imagine if Bill Cosby studied acupuncture?
Well, then he wouldn't have needed to drug them, would he?
Well, yeah, I wonder if you wouldn't have to slip him a hot Cosby.
And then slip them a hot Cosby. Eh.
Do they have hot Cosbys in England?
No.
Is that what a shandy is?
What's a hot Cosby?
It's like a drink with a
With Rohypnol in
yeah,
it.
Rohypnol in it with
Yeah.
a roofie. Dr. Jonathan Yates was handed a 25-year prison sentence this week after he admitted to molesting a trio of male military veterans in 2019. Yeah, three male
that
military
took a bit
veterans.
of a spin, didn't it?
Yeah, it's kind of, well, at first I was like, oh, is he a nonce? But he's not a nonce. These guys are all, I mean, veterans. They're all like in, 30s and 40s.
He's like Ricky Ramirez. He doesn't want the prime beef. He wants the gristle.
Well, they're not that old. Ricky Ramirez is like raping 80-year-old women.
Oh, sorry, because you said, I'm assuming in my mind.
Oh, you thought veterans. No, they're veterans of
Yeah.
war. I mean, they're like, one guy was like 42.
Oh, okay.
So he pled guilty in September to 3 felony counts of deprivation of rights under the color of law after molesting a trio of military veteran patients, his patients. He was sentenced to 25 years this past Monday.
Wow.
Yeah, which is seems pretty extreme. In fact, his legal team was like, well, this is completely unfair. This is way above the recommended guideline sentence. And so they're eyeing an appeal about this. So federal sentencing guidelines recommend that Yates spend a maximum of 17 years and 5 months in prison. But the judge had been so swayed by the victim's testimony, his egregious acts
Yeah.
of molestation here, that he sentenced him to well beyond what the 8 years in addition to what the guidelines recommend.
That judge is not playing around, is he? That judge is
Very compelling testimony you're about to hear.
Oh.
So his defense attorney said a sentence within the recommended range would have been sufficient, would have been fine. Mr. Yates accepted responsibility. His advanced age, he's 52, and he spent many years providing medical care in undeserved areas. These are all mitigating factors that should have been given more weight in court. But think about this, though. So many years given medical care, he molested 3 guys. That's been proven. How many people did he violate that was just never reported?
Yeah. A
A
lot more, probably.
Yeah. Prosecutors claim those actions were a despicable betrayal of his oath, his medical oath.
Mm-hmm.
And the sentence reflects the seriousness of his misconduct. He used his specialized medical knowledge and expertise to sexually abuse his own patients, and he must be held accountable. So in March 2019, this is where when the abuse happened. It occurred. He molested several patients at the Veterans Affairs Medical Center in Beckley, West Virginia.
Oh, God, yeah.
Yeah. So he allegedly rubbed the genitals of 2 veterans and digitally penetrated a 3rd victim's rectum under the guise of legitimate medicine. If you think about it, he's a doctor. He could have been examining the prostate. Don't you have to do a little digital penetration?
Firstly, I'd be like, acupuncture is not a legitimate medicine. But secondly, if you were the other two guys who he didn't finger fuck, wouldn't you be a bit upset and be like, well, what was so wrong with my rectum? That like he must have looked at it and been like, no, this rectum is not for me. Like, do I have an ugly rectum?
You'd have felt left out.
I would have felt left out. Yeah, I mean, fair enough, touch the genitals, whatever. But what? You took a look on my asshole and it's not right for you? Like, I'm
Yeah,
gonna
maybe
get
it
a
wasn't
complex
attracted to
about
him.
this. Exactly. I would be suing him for that.
Yates targeted veterans who were experiencing chronic pain, and he immobilized his victims using acupuncture needles and varying chiropractic techniques.
Ooh, I've always wanted to go to a chiropractor.
Do you guys have chiropractors in the UK? Is that like a thing
Yeah,
there?
of course.
Oh God, they're the worst. They're the worst.
Oh.
They're not even real doctors. Veterinarians have more medical legitimacy than a chiropractor.
Oh, right. Well, have you been to a chiropractor?
I have, and it was a horrible experience. It was
Did
my
you get a finger in the rectum?
no.
Oh, see, he must have looked at your
Everyone else
asshole.
did.
He must have
Everyone
looked
else
at your
did.
tattooed asshole and thought, I don't even want to touch this tattooed asshole.
Not going there.
Yeah.
No, I was a freshman in college, my first year
Mm-hmm.
at University of Michigan in Ann Arbor. And we had built like these lofts, like lofted beds, because the room was so small that we built the
Oh,
beds.
yes. Yeah. A
That
mezzanine.
lofted. So you,
Mhm.
yeah, kind of. So you'd have like, we could put our desks below it. But you had to like, there's a ladder to climb up the loft, or you could just kind of grab it and hoist yourself up.
Yeah.
So I was fucking wasted. And I was like, who needs a ladder? And I like started pulling myself up like I usually do. And I just fell back and landed right on my coccyx.
On your
And,
coccyx.
like, yeah, just like landed right on it. And fucking, at the time I was so drunk, I just passed out on the ground. When I woke up, I was having trouble like walking and standing. Like it fucking hurt. And so I remember I like told my parents, and my mother was like, you should go to a chiropractor. Because my mom believed it. My mom actually believed in a lot of holistic
Yeah.
medicine.
Go
and,
to
like,
the
homeopathy.
chiropractor, David, for your coccyx.
Well, like homeopathy. Like my mom, that was really popular in South Africa. My mom believes in a lot of
Okay.
that. Like I remember my sister had like a bit of a flatulence issue when she was younger. Not surprising because she had IBS. But
Uh-huh.
yeah, and like I remember we used to be like us, Stephanie's got to go to the fart doctor again. But there was a guy and he was like a homeopath. And yeah, my mom was like really into that. And she thought chiropractors are great. So I went to this chiropractor in Ann Arbor. And he was this fucking massive, like 6'9" Native American guy,
Ooh.
fucking huge hands, like big ass mittens. And so I remember being like, all right, well, this is kind of scary. Like, what are you going to do? And yeah, it's like you're like almost like putty in this guy's hands. He's like snap, 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 like whipping your legs around, pulling your back in positions that you wouldn't even think were physically possible. And so after he did all that, I was like, holy shit, I feel awesome. Like it was
Yeah.
amazing. Like it was fine. I would say maybe hour and a half, 2 hours later, the pain came back sevenfold.
Oh, really?
Oh, it was so fucking painful. Yeah, it was way worse. And so then I ended up going to like a physical therapist, and they like, taught you how to like, I think they would give me some medication, a regimen, and like
They taught you
and
how to take care of your
exercises.
coccyx.
Fix my
Mhm.
coccyx. And they were like, don't ever go to a chiropractor. Back
Oh.
crackers. They're quacks. There's not even, you don't even have to go to fucking med school for that.
I really want like my back. You know when people give you like a proper bear hug and they crack your
When
back?
they like crack your back.
Like I want John Redcorn to do that to me.
Oh God, this guy was fucking massive.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was. I've only had that one
Actually-
experience, and I'll never do it again.
Oh no, I was about to say John Redcorn in King of the Hill is a chiropractor, but no, he's an acupuncturist.
I wonder if he's ever.
Your
done
mum
this.
would have gone to see John Redcorn. You know what I'm saying?
I'm sure she would have. So in February 2019, a 42-year-old veteran was experiencing severe back pain. He sought out Yates for a massage therapy referral. Instead, Yates grabbed the patient's nipples, yanked his chest hair, and called him, quote, a real man in the examination room. He then later pulled the man's underwear down and fondled his genitals with an ungloved hand.
Oh, an ungloved hand. You don't know where that genital has been.
Well, would you have been like, is the genital fondling part of the exam? you know?
Yeah, like my genitals are just fine, thank you. They're the only thing that escaped out the war unscathed.
How is this medical ball gag like helping my back? Like I don't get it. And just seems a little bit unusual, you know. He said Yates, the doctor said, boxer briefs, my favorite, keeps everything tight and in place. You know, as soon as I heard that, I'd have been like, all right, pull my pants up. I'm out of here.
I'm out of here.
Like, that's
When
just not normal.
The doctor starts complimenting your ball bags. You're just out the door.
And then later, Yates became irritated and he smacked the patient's buttocks really hard.
Nice.
He then cracked the veteran's neck, temporarily paralyzing him, and then stripped the patient's underwear off and molested him.
Jesus.
Yeah. And there's nothing he could do. He couldn't even move. It's like what was that Metallica song, you know, One?
Yeah.
Is it what's Johnny got his gun?
Mm.
Yeah, it's like you can't even move. You couldn't even do anything. And the guy's like sitting there like diddling your junk.
Dr.
said the-
Fingerfuck.
He said the pain was excruciating. I felt it all over my body. Fucking chiropractor rapist. That's why you don't go to backcrackers.
Okay. Well, because they're going to fingerfuck you as well.
Yeah, the victim said he, as soon as he was able to move again, he quickly left the exam room, drove to a nearby gas station, and cleaned himself using multiple sanitary wipes. Got to get off the dirty Dr. Diddle.
Yeah.
You know, the diddle.
Well, he
dust.
did use an ungloved hand, and you don't know where Dr. Fingerfuck has been putting his fingers before. So, like, yeah.
Well,
you would
obviously,
feel...
in other guys' rectums.
Yeah. Well, not
You know?
everyone's rectum.
Well, maybe not
He
everybody.
seems to be quite selective with the
Very
rectums.
selective, yeah. He said, I felt dirty after that encounter. Yates also popped the neck of a different patient, pulled his pants down without warning, just yanked his pants down, and commented on a tattoo of a Hershey's Kisses chocolate on the man's buttock. Which, if you think about, isn't that kind of a weird placement of a Hershey Kiss like tattoo so close to your asshole?
Is it not supposed to be like kiss my ass?
Maybe, but I mean, it's a little chocolate thing. Like, would you from afar? It's like, dude, I don't think you're wiping that well.
Wouldn't you, right, remember back when Jackass first came out and obviously Steve-O has your name tattooed on his ass, and imagine everyone went out and got that tattoo. I wonder where all
What
these
is he?
people
He
are
has
now.
your name tattooed.
He has your
on it?
name tattooed on his ass. So everyone was like, that's hilarious. I know 3 people who went and got fucking your name tattooed on his ass. So where are these people now? I wonder, like, you know, as they're all working their corporate jobs with fucking your name tattooed on their ass.
There was a guy, we were talking about this on the Discord, but there's a guy that had Wackerly in like cursive tattooed on his right butt cheek. I wonder if that guy still listens. If you still listen,
Oh, no,
did
no.
you get it covered? Did you get it covered? You still have it.
When Wackerly left, his heart was broken. That's
And now he's got this tattoo on his ass. Then I'm sure like women are like, what? I don't
Who's
get it.
Wackerly? Yeah, then he
He's
has
like,
to
long
explain his
story,
podcast.
long
Yeah.
story. You know, I always find it funny when doctors comment on your tattoos because I mean, I have a couple. But dermatologists, every time like you go in to get your moles checked, they're just like, well, it's going to be impossible with all your tattoos. It's like, fuck you.
It's like, yeah, well, I'm paying you for a service. You've been to
Yeah, like,
school.
Do your fucking job there,
Today is
doctor.
just a harder job for you, Dr. Fingerfuck.
Dr. Fingerfuck.
Yeah.
So he pulled his pants down, saw the Hershey's Kisses tattoo, and he said, oh, kisses are my favorite. I'd like to take a bite of that kiss right now. Who's this doctor? Andy Dick?
He's the worst at flirting.
I mean,
isn't
it's
he?
like-
oh my word.
After he pulls your pants down, makes comment, I would have been like, all right, I'm out of here. I'm out of here. This is done.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, having to get your fucking ass tattoo in front of the doctor. Yeah, that's bad. Good idea.
Yates sexually assaulted another patient after plunging several acupuncture needles into the man's back, completely incapacitating him.
I did not know that acupuncture had this power.
I'm kind of stunned. I thought you just did it to like stop smoking or something.
I thought it just kind of went into like the top layer of like your epidermis. I didn't think he could be like, blah, into
Right into your
someone's back
nerves.
like that. Yeah.
I mean,
It's
you
kind of
could-
like reminds me of Ivan Milet, you know, when he'd be like paralyzing them. but still keeping them alive so he could fuck around with them.
Yeah, but do you do it with acupuncture needles?
No, he did it with knives.
Oh. I just had no idea you could use acupuncture for date rape. It's a
God,
multifaceted
yeah.
technique.
Now,
You
you
know?
learn something new every day, David.
The patient says, I knew at this point I would not be able to defend myself if he did not stop because of the acupuncture needles in my back. I couldn't move. I was afraid that I might be raped at this point. The doctor, while he had immobilized him with the acupuncture needles, told him, and this guy's a church minister, actually, the veteran, the victim here, church minister.
Right.
Yeah. The doctor started telling him that he was sexually abused for years as a child, which is just another weird thing. You don't want your doctor oversharing with you. You know, it's like, I'm immobilized. You're sticking needles in me. You got my fucking cock in your hand. It's like, I don't want to hear you tell me that you've been sexually abused as a child. Yates also told some of his fellow doctors that he'd intentionally caused some of his patients to ejaculate during medical visits. So can you do
Right.
that with acupuncture? Like, what, do you just shove a needle right through your bollocks?
Apparently you can. Do you think is that what makes you come? When people
A
put
needle
needles
right in my
your
nuts?
bollocks? Well, I mean, I suppose you do have your ball sack tattooed. So, did you come in your tattooist's face when he was doing it?
Don't have my
Probably.
nuts tattooed yet. But that's what I wonder. It's like, I wonder if maybe you can. I mean, I know you can immobilize someone with needles, so maybe if you just
You
stuck
must
like in
be
the
able
right
to.
spot, you just instantly.
Or was that
just-
when he was
maybe in your
finger
taint
fucking
or
them?
something.
Must have been when
you
he was
think it was
finger
like milking
fucking.
milking the
He was,
prostate.
yeah, he was milking them.
God. The doctor told another physician, you know, I'm not able to explore the things I'd like to do with some of these guys because I'm a married man, and my wife would never understand this.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like you're very straight, mate.
Well,
I
just
think your wife might understand that you're not straight.
just
yeah.
knock her out with some acupuncture needles and go hire a male prostitute.
Could do that, yeah.
You know, there's an idea. But like, what do you think his colleague was thinking? Like, okay, so you make him ejaculate, and now you're saying that you can't do things because you're married. I would have
Your
been like,
wife doesn't understand.
I might report him.
Yeah.
He was forced to surrender his medical license as part of the plea agreement, and his special agent here, Michael Kreisman, said Yates committed hideous crimes in a hospital room, which should be a sanctuary for patients. The facts of this case are disgusting, and these patients and their families deserve better care. Yates's legal team feels the sentencing was a bit harsh, and they plan to move on to sentence appeal in the coming weeks.
He's a doctor of cum, just like I am.
You're a cum scientist.
I'm a cum scientist, but I'm also a doctor of cum.
Are you still growing the cum mushrooms?
Of course.
Yeah.
Forever.
Cultivating
I will never stop.
them.
We'll never stop. It is a lifelong hobby once you get into it.
I think
eat
the
them every day for
takeaway-
protein. Mhm.
Makes sense. I think the takeaway here is you should be very wary when you go to a chiropractor and he causes you to ejaculate. Like, don't go
Yes.
back, because I don't think that's part of the treatment. It's just, I don't know, word of advice from me.
Yeah, if
Take it
Dr.
with a grain of
Fingerfuck
salt.
is wanting to see you, just decline.
Yeah.
Or you could go if you're into that type of thing.
I suppose you could.
He's going to do very well for himself in jail.
Yeah, actually, if you think about it, now he's going to get to do the things he wanted to do with guys.
He's going to make guys
You
come.
know?
That's all he wanted all along.
I
So
don't
really,
think
this is a
his-
feel-good story.
in the end, it's like a happy ending. No pun intended.
Hey, literally.
What do you got here for the second story?
Now, my second story occurs in Wales. So it's an ex-rugby player, 29, who stamped a pensioner, 76, to death after performing sex act on him in return for a bottle of vodka, is jailed for life for murder.
Wow. So he blew an old man for a bottle of vodka.
Basically, yeah, this is a very classy story. Very
Yeah.
classy. Lots of class acts in this story. So at the Swansea Crown Court, former Ospreys youth player Tom Carney, 29, was ordered to spend at least 15 years and 10 days, random, behind bars for the murder of David Phillips, 76, on Valentine's Day in 2019. What a Valentine's Day. So romantic.
Wow. It's kind of, we're pretty close to Valentine's Day. It's kind of like
Yeah.
this week. And next week's our Valentine's Day show.
Mhm.
But this is also kind of Valentine's Day related.
Yeah. So Mr. Phillips' body was discovered in his home in the Kimla area of Neath on February 14th, 2019. And he had suffered injuries to his head and chest. Right. Wales, as much as I love Wales and I love the Welsh people, is a fucking shithole. There is
Wait,
no part of fucking Wales that is not a fucking shithole. So don't even have to go to I think it was part of Talbot, which is where all the actors come from. I think that's where Anthony Hopkins is from. Shithole.
So wait, Wales? You're not even just saying like Cardiff is a shithole. It's like the whole
Cardiff is a
region.
full shithole. You could just like cut off Wales and set it sail into the ocean. It's so awful. I love the Welsh accent.
More blighty.
Yes, they don't have much money, but they have wonderful voices. Carney killed the pensioner by repeatedly stamping on his head in a violent rage, having earlier gone to the older man's flat to perform sexual favors in return for alcohol. Who has not done this? He denied murder, but he admitted manslaughter on the grounds of diminished responsibility. During the sentencing hearing, Judge Paul Thomas told Carney he had been effectively prostitutioning yourself for alcohol. But he said after getting his reward in the form of a bottle of vodka, Carney felt great self-disgust, which turned to rage against Mr. Phillips. That led to Carney. Sorry.
I'm assuming that he wasn't getting Belvedere vodka.
This is Tesco value vodka.
I don't think this was Grey Goose.
No, this is the cheapest type of vodka and the type that makes you mental when you drink it. It's so fucking cheap.
It's like the charcoal filtered, like well, we have it. It's called Pop Off here.
Pop off. You're gonna pop off when you drink Pop Off.
Pop Off for like a fifth of Pop Off. It's like, I don't know, $6. Not even. It's probably like $5.
Because I'm obviously a classy chick, I can only drink top shelf levels of vodka. I can't drink cheap shit because the next day I will be sick. But if I drink like top shelf, I'm fine. Oh my god, vodka hangovers are the worst hangovers.
But really good vodka though, I do enjoy.
Same. So this led to Carney kicking his way back into the flat and launching a savage, relentless, and merciless attack upon his victim. The judge rejected any notion that Carney did not intend to kill Mr. Phillips, saying he only wanted to kill him. He not only wanted to kill him, he wanted to make him suffer.
Let me show a pic of this guy. So he's a rugby player. He's a big guy.
An ex-rugby player.
You know? Well,
yeah.
But still. So let me see here. I'll show you a pic of this dude. It's a great picture too. You can tell this is the one on his Tinder.
Or his Grinder.
Isn't that great?
Ooh.
Yeah, he's got like rose, carnation wallpaper. And look at that hair. You get to, he kind of, are Welsh people chavs?
What a cretin. That's what a lot of people in Wales look like. Yeah.
They look like this.
What is that? Is he? No, he's got some jean shorts on. Oh my god.
Look at this picture of him.
Oh, that's him getting arrested.
But he's a big dude. But then look at the cop.
She's a Welsh mother. What are you trying to say about her? She's just doing her job.
Is that a typical Welsh bird?
You know Charlotte Church?
I don't know.
No.
Not ringing a bell.
Well,
She attractive.
Please don't. Catherine Zeta-Jones is Welsh. She's like one of the most beautiful women ever. So he said,
wait, which of your ex-boyfriends does this guy look like?
Do you think I would rather sew my vagina shut than let him go anywhere near it? Although, to be fair, he's blowing pensioners for vodka, so I think he wouldn't want to go near my vagina either. I think we're both in mutual unattractive to each other's zones. So he said that the attack was one of brutality and ferocity, which saw the destruction of Mr. Phillips' face, an attack on his genitals, and the use of weapons, not just shod feet, but a heavy stereo and a stool.
God, talk about a self-loathing homosexual.
I know.
Man, he like attacked his nuts. Like he attacked his genitals.
He went for it was like Dr. Fingerfuck. His first
Yeah.
port of call. The court had previously heard from pathologist Richard Jones that Mr. Phillips had a grossly distorted skull. CT scans showed that there had been a shattering of the facial bones, which would have caused uncontrollable bleeding into the airwaves.
Just a
Mr.
brutal
Phillips
beating.
totally also suffered a fracture to the spine, 27 rib fractures, and bruisings to the genitals and pelvis area.
He went right for the junk.
Yeah, he was just like beating the crap out of his penis.
God, so after sucking his cock, he goes to like destroying his cock.
Yeah.
I wonder how much time elapsed. Like he was obviously really guilty. He definitely was just like, I got shit vodka and I had to blow an old man. That's what happened here.
Is that what you think was going on?
Yeah, I think he like blew an old man because he's
Mhm.
well, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know how much vodka
I'm about
costs in
to
the
tell
UK.
you. So the judge, they found Carney. He was hiding in a garden near the murder scene shortly after he had killed the 76-year-old. The first officer to deal with him, South Wales Police PC Donald Burr, told the murder trial that Carney looked very frightened and he was in shock.
Hmm.
And this is when it all starts kicking off. Carney initially gave a false name to the police, claiming to be called Jeremy. Can't say it. And he told officers someone had tried to rape him.
So wait. He beats this old man,
Yes.
destroys his junk, and then he's hiding in the house or hiding in the front yard.
Hiding in a nearby garden. And
Why wouldn't
by
you
the way
run?
he looks, you're going to find him, aren't you?
Yeah, look at this guy. He looks like
He's
a
not-
proper Chad.
Hey, it's not big brains time, is it?
Yeah, but wouldn't you just take off and go, I don't know, go hide somewhere? Like I wouldn't
How-
stay in in the front yard.
The
in
amount
a
of
nearby
fake
garden.
tan on that man, he would glow in the dark. He'd be so easy to find. After it was confirmed Mr. Phillips had died of his injuries, the defendant was arrested and transported to Swansea Central Police Station. That's the picture we saw. And this is where he turned his aggression on the officers. The 29-year-old refused to leave the police van until he had been given a cigarette. And then he launched into a tirade of abuse directed at the officers, threatening to smack them and I'll fucking strangle you to death. Then he began shouting, I got fucking raped earlier and you were fucking standing up for him. I lost it a bit then. Adding he was trying to rape me and I am straight as fuck.
That's the only way as a straight man. It's the only way to really affirm your heterosexuality.
How straight you are.
Well, I usually go to like the front of my apartment building and just scream, usually at like 1 a.m. like, I am straight as fuck. I just want everyone to know.
Yeah, well, that's the only way you can do it. If not,
Yeah.
you're not straight, you're gay. So
Well, there's question, about your sexual orientation if you don't at least once a day scream it aloud, top of your lungs.
of course, I totally agree. So as he was shouting, I am straight as fuck, he was also screaming, I stamped on his head. I stamped on his fucking head. What a dick.
That's how you prove how straight you are.
Spat in an officer's face as well. Officers weren't
God.
happy about that. A number of officers actually sustained injuries during this whole incident. So I can imagine they were all just swarming into his cell and he was just like popping them off while screaming about how straight he was. He's straighter than an arrow, this man, D. He is probably the straightest man who has ever lived.
He's very straight. You can
He's
tell
so
by
the picture.
Well, you can tell by the picture, but you can also tell by that orange spray tan.
While he was in the police cell as well, he wouldn't let the officers put plastic bags over his hands, because they wanted to preserve the forensic evidence under his fingernails. And the reason he didn't want this is because it would stop him from masturbating.
Don't they want him not to masturbate in the prison cell?
He is so straight that he has to masturbate every 20 minutes over the thought of vaginas. That's how
Do you
straight
think
he
he's
is.
Screaming, I'm straight as fuck while masturbating in a prison cell surrounded by men?
I think that's exactly what he was doing. I've definitely
No.
seen that porno on Pornhub.
Well, that's one way to
Definitely.
prove you're straight.
So he was also repeating the claims that Mr. Phillips had tried to rate him. He, he was giving loads of like abuse to the officers. He was demanding food, and he just wanted a hot chocolate too, probably with whipped cream and marshmallows.
Well, can you get that at a UK prison?
I don't think you can get the whipped cream or the marshmallows, but you probably can get a hot chocolate. It'd be one of the shitty ones out of a vending machine that, you're an animal if you make hot chocolate with water. You're an absolute animal, and I'm sending you to the gas chamber if you do that.
I can't even believe you get anything. In the US, you're not getting anything.
It's
And they're
human
not giving you
rights, isn't
shit.
it? I think you'll get like, an orange. An orange,
Maybe
just a ham sandwich. Because he's straight, he's just going to get a ham sandwich, which he's going to fuck because it looks like a vagina.
yeah, but I don't think they give you anything here.
Well,
Especially when you're in a holding cell.
that's so.
And you're acting like a fucking asshole.
But, there's another little twist to this story. So at the time of his death, Mr. Phillips was subject to a sexual harm prevention order because he had sexually assaulted a boy in Neath Town Centre in 2016. But his history of
he's a
sexual
nonce.
offending goes back 30 years.
All right, I got a picture here of
Yeah.
I got a picture here of Mr. Phillips, the nonce, buying probably the vodka.
No way. Was this in the like CCTV in Tesco? I want to see what type of vodka this is.
No, I think
so I can judge it.
Is this the Tesco right here?
Oh, it's hard to tell. Oh my God, what an old nonce.
This
Doesn't
guy,
he scream old nonce.
and he's wearing like a gold chain too. And the rugby player totally sucked this guy's dick for some shitty Tesco vodka.
Oh, I think that is a Tesco. I think that looks like a Tesco. I wonder what else. It looks like he's buying bin bags.
How can you tell that it's a Tesco?
Oh, maybe it isn't Tesco. No, that's a Tesco. I can tell by the way. No, it's an Asda. He's in an Asda buying Asda value.
Well,
Asda
can you tell by the
Stevens.
linoleum of the floor or
I
something?
can tell by the signs. He's in an Asda.
Wow, he's in Asda buying just shit vodka. He's like, I know this guy is gonna suck my dick for this.
Yeah, and then he's gonna. Oh God, don't like looking at him.
There he is. He's a nonce.
A complete nonce. So this man, Mr. David Phillips, was able to exploit his role as a sponsor with Alcohol Anonymous to get access to Carney, and the pair had actually met in an AA meeting in Neath.
Whoa, so he was groomed. They met in an AA meeting and he groomed him as like, you know what? This guy is an incorrigible drunk.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna get my dick sucked for a bottle of Tesco vodka.
That's how much he loves the vodka. So after the sentencing, Tom Carney admitted he was responsible for the death of David Phillips, but he denied any intention to kill him or cause him serious harm. However, the evidence of this shockingly violent attack suggests otherwise.
Dude, you like stomped on the guy's genitals.
And his
You
head.
like crushed his skull. Like flattened his skull.
27 rib fractures. That's like his rib cage was like broken into.
Yeah, God. It's horrible. So this guy got sentenced to life in prison.
Yeah, he's away, man. No, 15 years and 10 days.
Still pretty harsh for a UK sentence.
What, yeah, compared to our usual 10 days, governor. Off you go.
But you'd think that like he was offing a nonce. You'd think they'd give him like, well, we're gonna take a few years off for that. Get rid of a nonce.
Well, yeah, they did, because they could have given him a life sentence.
Did they even do what's a life sentence in the UK? Oh, it's 30 years?
Yeah.
Oh, all right. So he got the mitigating circumstances of killing a nonce.
He did.
People, send your stories, SigmarunPodcast@gmail.com. We have some phone calls coming up next. 323-522-4032. Before we get to that, here's a word from Adam and Eve. Valentine's Day message from Adam and Eve.
No, I just have to grab another. I should have got two. I'm sorry.
What are you drinking? Smart Price vodka, huh? You can drink straight vodka, but it doesn't make you straight. Wait, so you knew it was an Asda too. How do you know it was an Asda? Like, what makes you realize it's an Asda? Well, there's a guy on YouTube that totally knew it was an Asda.
Yeah, a cheap bottle of Coke, not a bin bags. Yeah, that's totally what it was. What it is, and it is an Asda.
Yeah, no, I like this guy. Smart Price Vadi. What's Smart Price?
Smart Price vodka. That's Asda's Smart Price. That's just their value range of value shit. Like how it's Tesco value and is it Sainsbury's Savers?
Wait, this guy said
Oh, no,
it's
it's
either
Morrison's Savers.
oh, it's either a Morrison's or an Asda.
I think it was an Asda.
Oh, it's the font of the signs. That's how
Yeah.
you'd know.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, I thought
sorry
it
there,
was an
TP. How am I supposed to know? I thought you were toilet paper. I didn't know you were a girl. What? Okay, so in the hierarchy of stores, where's an Asda? Where's a Morrison's? Where's a Tesco?
Okay, so Morrison's is the middle ground, very middle class. I love a Morrison's, but it can divide people. I would say that Tesco's is kind of just below a Morrison's. Sainsbury's is above a Morrison's. Marks and
This is-
Spencer and Waitrose is at the top.
So is Waitrose like a Whole Foods?
Yes. Asda is low. It's like fucking owned by Walmart. Or it used to be. I don't know.
So Asda is
Asda
just
to me is the worst supermarket. I don't like Asda's products. I don't like the shit they sell. I don't like the shit they sell.
Where do you
Although
shop?
They do have. I go because I'm posh. I go to Morrison's and Tesco's, and I get bits from Sainsbury's, but I could never afford to do a full shop there. Sainsbury's
Sainsbury's
has
are
great-
expensive.
Yeah, so more expensive than what it should be, but Sainsbury's has usually really good booze, and it has like a world food section that I enjoy.
Do they have like so they have a full booze section with like
Mhm.
whiskey, vodka?
Oh, they all do.
Huh.
Every supermarket does.
What
the
is Marks
Lidls
and
the
Spencer?
Aldis. Marks and Spencer's is another very like bougie type of supermarket that's underneath probably a Waitrose, because again, you can go to like Marks and Spencer's to treat yourself to like a packet of Percy Pigs, but you're not doing your full shop there unless you have a lot of money.
You can treat yourself to a package of Percy Pigs.
Have you never had Percy? Oh, I'm gonna send you some Percy Pigs, mate. They will change
What
your life.
is it?
They're like the nicest sweets ever. I think they're vegetarian. I think they are.
Percy Pigs.
Really nice biscuits in a Marks and Spencer, but you only get like 6 in a pack.
So does Asda have shit produce?
Yeah, everything just goes off really fast in Asda. It's just like freaking shite. It's not good.
No.
I'm not a fan of Asda. But if you're feeding a family of like 6 of yours, then
Do you
it's
guys have
helpful.
like do you guys have like a Gordon's food service where you buy bulk food?
Yeah, we've got like Bookers and stuff like that. Like, but you've got to be a
That's-
member of those types of places.
Oh, okay, that's the same thing. It's like Costco and Gordon's
Yeah.
food service. You have to have
Down
like a
south they have
membership.
Costco. Yeah. Oh no, there's Costco's in Scotland. I nearly said America then. Costco's in Scotland.
Well, Costco, the thing is with Costco, they have great deals on booze. Like you can just go, I mean, you get like fucking massive, like fucking half gallons
For
and
the
shit.
pubs. Yeah.
Well, yeah, I think the pubs do it, but if you go there, I mean, when I had an ex of mine had a card to Costco, we go stock up. I mean, you get like fucking decent booze, like a big, huge thing, a bullet, fucking
Ooh.
vodka. So you buy enough, and I mean, that's a lot of booze.
Yeah. I
Whereas-
live near I'm part of a wholesalers because my mate runs a business. So I'm like a secondary on her account. So I can go to the wholesale whenever I want effectively. But you don't really save that much money, but on the booze you do.
Yeah, I don't like. I never really quite understood the whole appeal of Costco, but I guess it's not like I have a family.
Over
Yeah.
here as well, there is a very big divide between if you go to Aldi or if you go to Lidl. I am a Lidler. I do not like Aldi. I am not cheating on Lidl. I like Lidl. They do this muffin that has like a blueberry jam sauce center that is, I could eat 500 of them. I like Lidl. I like Lidl for the magic of when you walk down the aisles because they've got this center bit where they sell random shit, real random
Lidl.
stuff. And then
When-
they do themed, so like summer's coming because all the Greek food is suddenly in Lidl.
One time I was at the Costco in Glendale and we were checking out, and right in front of us, I was like, God, that chick looks really familiar. It was totally Tara Patrick, the porn star.
No way. What's
Yeah, she was with her
doing?
kids. She was with her kids. They were just shopping, and she was with her. I think at the time she's married to the guy from Biohazard.
Yeah.
I forget his name.
Getting their
Evan
getting their
Seinfeld?
shit.
Yeah, they were like, and she had like a fucking like cart just full of shit. But
Mhm.
Costco doesn't only sell food. I mean, they sell booze, food, pharmaceuticals, electronic. You can buy
Oh,
like a
okay.
TV that's cheap.
Oh shit! So it's like an
Yeah.
all-in-one, like place.
Yeah, it's like a thing. Whereas like Gordon's food service stuff like that, that's where you get like a fucking tub of macaroni and cheese.
Ooh.
Which yeah, I've never quite understood why anyone would buy that much. Like I don't know. I just don't know why you need that much food.
If you stir mac and cheese, though, that's what good pussy sounds like.
Is what?
Can you not remember the
When you
vine?
stir macaroni and cheese?
Where his mum's stirring macaroni and cheese, and he goes, "That's what good pussy sounds like."
What is that from?
It's a vine.
Wait, hold on a second. I'm like,
You never seen it. You will seen it. That's what good pussy sounds like. His mum's like this tiny little Arabic woman. She just starts hitting him.
wait.
That's what good pussy sounds like. That's what good pussy sounds like.
He looks like he looks like fucking he looks like Mr. Bean, that guy.
Oh, you're gonna send it to your mate.
He totally looks like Lee. I'm gonna end the show as the secret clip is gonna be that's what good pussy sounds like.
Why not, eh? It's a classic Vine. I miss you, Vine.
Why not, eh? All right. What are the Australian supermarkets? You guys have an Aldi over there?
Oh yeah, they must do.
They must. Let me cue these up. All right, tell me if you can hear this. Da, 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 da. All right, can you hear this?
I can hear
Yep.
that.
All right. Let's get some calls going here.
My cat is posh. She would never eat little pet food.
Little pet food. Your cat is posh. You told me about what you feed your fucking cat.
A posh.
Did
little
you like
baby.
make him like chicken and stuff?
Yeah, I cook that boy chicken. I'll cook him salmon. Whatever his
That's
little heart
crazy.
desires, I'll cook up for him.
You're
That's what he gets on special occasion, and he gets prawns and crab sticks. The only treat I'll give him.
My fucking cat doesn't get that. Mine's a fancy hairless cat.
Yeah, I know. Shouldn't you treat your fancy hairless cat like how I treat
Fuck him. He's a
my
dick.
my baby angel?
I give him
Yeah.
good food. I don't give him shit food.
No, he doesn't get. He's too posh. He won't eat like really cheap brands.
All right. You ready?
Yes.
So we got a few phone calls to get to. 323-522-4032. Recently I was kind of disappointed with the calls we got. A
Oh.
lot of them, well, we got a couple calls that were like started off really good, and then the reception just dies and you can kind of hardly hear the person.
Mhm.
So the people that called in where you're having dodgy reception should fucking call back, because it's like we can't play the call. It's like basically just a wasted call. But people should be calling 323-522-4032 because you can hear my special new message I made. I was
Ooh.
inspired when Jizzy Jake was bitching about it. I made a new message. Took me
Yeah.
a long time. Like it reminded me of back, you're probably too young for this, but back in the 90s, I had an answering machine.
Yeah, I was alive in the 90s, D.
Yeah, but
I also had an answering machine in the 90s.
was your family like really particular about putting the message on the answering machine, or did you just like fuck it and just be like,
Oh no, my dad.
leave a
my dad's-
message?
My dad stayed on top of that. It was my dad's voice.
Oh, we always
Yeah.
like, well, the rabbi used to do his own one, but when I was like an adult and I had my own answering machine, I put a lot of stock into it. I would do,
Or did you do one of the
You know,
singing ones or something?
no, not like a singing one, but we'd like, do sometimes movie scenes
Mhm.
and reenact it. It kind of reminded me of that. So I put a lot of creativity into making the goddamn fucking message for the Sick and Wrong hotline. So why don't you go fucking call and I'd appreciate it, all right? Just show me a
Okay.
little appreciation, okay?
Mhm.
Not to mention, if you got your awkward virginity stories, got like maybe a week left for that. I think maybe if you can get it in by next week, and it's good, we'll play it. We get some
will
good
win
ones.
a prize. You will win a prize.
Well, I have this whole box of dildos. It's kind of weird that I have that in my house because I'm thinking like if a girl comes over and they're like, "Why do you got a box of dildos?" And I have to like say, "Well, I host a podcast." And
I'm Dr. Fingerfuck.
and she's like, "Why are these covered in feces?" Well, I host a podcast. Anyway, yeah, give us a call 323-522-4032. You can hear my new heartfelt message and you can give us a good story with some good stories. All right, the first one here. This is a good one. Anne from Nevada. You're the one who showed her tits to Bob Madigan a couple weeks
Anne
ago.
is my hero.
Here is Anne's virginity story.
Awesome.
Hi Dee, hi Kate. It's Anne in Nevada. So this is my virginity lost story. I think it was the summer I turned 14 or 15, probably 15.
God damn, isn't that young?
That's how old I was when I lost my virginity.
Sluts.
Yeah, me and
Jesus.
Anne were sluts.
No, that's the thing I always kind of envied about women. It's like you could lose your virginity at any age. Whereas like at 15, I would have loved to have lost my virginity. That wasn't gonna happen. Like I tried,
Mm-hmm.
you know. It was so awkward. There's no way.
It's awkward for everyone losing their virginity.
Yeah, but I think
that great experience I had when I lost my virginity. No one ever says that.
it was beautiful.
Yeah.
The candles, the Enya, the whole scene.
It was a warm summer night. It was like probably 1 o'clock in the morning, and we were hanging out at
God, if it's Bob Madigan, I'm gonna.
I was
no.
thinking inside my head then,
I know,
I
if
was
it's
like, plot
like-
twist. It's Bob Madigan.
He's like, Bob Jerry. I don't know about that. That'd be weird.
middle of a soccer field drinking Mickey's Big Mouth malt liquor. And the guy was probably a couple years older than me, and he asked me to suck his dick like my favorite root beer popsicle. So that happened.
I
Does
like
that work?
it.
Is that what happened with you? Is that the guy that you lost your virginity to? How old was he? Like 58?
He was 19/20.
Oh wow. And you were only what, 13,
Yeah,
12?
15. Bit of
15.
noncery. Bit of noncery.
Yeah,
if you
that
put
is
it
a
that
bit of
way.
noncery there.
Mhm.
Don't you have to, isn't 16 the age of consent?
16 is the age of consent. I was a bad girl.
So did he was like, suck my dick like a Yorkie bar or something? Like, what'd he say?
We were going out.
Oh,
I
okay,
was
so-
because I am a good girl, David. Where I was completely inexperienced. I'd only ever snogged boys in back alleys before I got with him. So it went from like I did everything for the first time with him.
So
Although he didn't know where my clit was, and you would think at the age of 20 he would, but he
a
didn't.
lot of men at my age don't know where the clit is. You know.
And then after that, we had sex. We were laying in the middle of the field. He was having a cigarette. And then the sprinklers came on, got us soaking wet, and we had to run home. So that's that. Keep it ticking on. Bye.
Oh, it's like a film. It's like
Yeah, like a Richard
Virgin
Linklater film.
Suicides. Yeah, it's like
Yeah,
something
like
that.
Dazed and Confused or something. That's what I was
Very
thinking.
nice. Yeah.
Yeah,
Thank
I
you,
like that.
Anne. Anne
It's
is
very
my
wholesome.
hero.
Wasn't that
Yeah.
wholesome?
Yeah, it was. That's how everyone's first time should be. It should just be with a guy who smokes cigarettes, a bit older than you, who gets you drunk and tells you to suck my cock like it's a popsicle.
I keep getting older. The girls
Just
stay the
keep
same age.
They're
Like one of those type of
laughing,
guys.
Yeah, why not? That's what they're there for.
All right, I thank you, Anne, for that. I'm glad it wasn't Bob Madigan
Mm.
because that would have
Me
been
too.
weird. I wonder if Bob Madigan, how many girls virginity Bob Madigan took?
None.
I don't know. They're still in therapy. All right, let's see what happens here with this next guy. There's a guy here who lost his virginity. The Twisted Fire Starter called in. It's a little longer than I normally play, but since it's kind of a special segment.
Mm-hmm.
Yo, 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 yo. It's the Twisted Fire Starter speaking. I initially sent this in as an email, but D, you asked me to record it on MP3, so this is me recording it on MP3.
Yeah, because you sent in like a 3-page fucking email as if I'm going to read that whole thing. And, you know, I find it really funny with a lot of people. Well, mainly because you're in the UK, so it's like you don't want to call the hotline because it costs money. So they
We're gonna
send
look
in
into
this like,
setting that up though, aren't we? Setting up a Google over here, so all the
oh yeah, we're planning to send Google. Kate's gonna set up a
Voicemail.
Google Voice.
Yeah.
So you can
for
call
the
that
Euro
number.
set. Yeah,
Well, I mean, people also call or send a message via Facebook. You can send voice
you
message on
can
Facebook too.
to me or D.
But I'm not gonna fucking read a 3-page email on the show. So I usually write back being like, call this one in.
Mm-hmm.
But he's an MP3.
I don't really understand the distinction, but I can only assume you've got some sort of fetish for the voice of a boy from the West Country.
No, it's because I don't want to fucking read your goddamn email. But I also have a
Stop
fetish for the
denying
voice
it.
of the West Country.
Yes,
Yeah,
there
that's
you
true.
go. Just admit
You
it.
got me.
What I've learned from this episode is you should admit your fetishes.
Yeah, as forbidden as they are.
Yes.
This is me losing my virginity. I'm just gonna read the transcript of the email I sent you. Here it is. When I was 16 years old, I joined the army and went straight to AFC Harrogate for basic training. All of my dreams of the valor and heroism of British soldiers were shattered on the first day when I saw the scum that I would be training with.
Is that true? Like, is it mostly just scum that joins the army?
Oh yeah, squaddies. Totally.
Squaddies?
Yeah, they're a different breed, man. The only sexually transmitted disease. Actually, no, I caught it off somebody in the Navy. So, I was gonna
Wait,
say, was
so
from
aren't
a
squaddies
squaddie?
in the Navy?
No, they're different. The Navy is like squaddies are the lowest, then it's your Navy, and then it's your RAF. So
What's the RAF? Oh,
Air
Air Force.
Force,
Air
yeah.
Force. All right.
mhm.
The majority, they were like real fucking dickheads, like real, like I was like from the wrestling. Me and my friends were like the losers that would wrestle behind the art block at lunchtime. I couldn't even believe the types of cunts I was working with when I got to the army. But anyway,
Yeah.
the majority were thugs from the inner cities of Britain, and a couple were even drug dealers before they joined up.
You know, it's how old are you when you become a squaddie?
Well, he joined when he was 16. You can join the army at 16.
Okay, that explains it because he sent a picture along with this call.
And he's just so
and
young.
I look at him like, God, you look like a child.
Well, yeah, he is 16.
I mean, I guess I didn't realize because in the
Baby's
U.S.,
going to war.
in the
Yeah.
U.S., you have to be at least 18. But usually, the way it works here is they come and they try to recruit you when you're in high school. But it's the kids that like obviously could never go to college. You
Right.
know, it's like, and they have no other alternative. It's like, well, fuck, I guess I could be a loser and stay at home, but my parents are about to kick me out. So the only thing I can do is join the army. And, you know, sometimes it actually works out really well for those kids.
So
because-
it does, yeah, and also don't forget it pays you a wage and you get a pension from that as well.
And you get free,
sometimes
free college.
yeah.
So a lot of the kids, it actually works out, but then some of them, it doesn't work out at all.
Mm,
I've known several that got dishonorably discharged for dealing meth.
yeah.
One of them was in the Marines, and he ended up having to go to military prison for a couple of years.
Oh,
And there was a
fuck.
guy that they called the ether bunny that would just sneak up behind you and just ether you out and just fucking rape you.
I want that guy on my team if I go to war. I want
The
the
ether
I want the
bunny.
ether bunny and I want Dr. Fingerfuck as my two like special.
Ether bunny, Dr. Fingerfuck.
Yeah, I'm building an army, D.
It's a couple guys that hang out with Jizzy Jake.
He's not in my army.
Context. I'm from a middle class family in North Devon and was so sheltered that I didn't even understand the concept of regional accents. Additionally, I was very underdeveloped at this time and physically resembled someone closer to the age of 12. My voice
I'm not shitting you. I saw this picture. I was like, he looks like the kid from Gummo.
I
He's so
would have
buff.
bullied him in army too. Yeah.
Did you have pubic hair at that point, Twisted Firestarter? I'd be sick if I
Are
had
you
to conjecture.
asking a 16-year-old boy if he had pubic hair?
If you see this picture, I'll show you. I'm going
Are
to
you
forward you the
asking an
picture.
underage boy if he he has pubic hair.
Yeah, I'm just saying. He says he was very young, very youthful looking. I
Mm.
bet you, like, if I send you this picture, you're gonna think like, wow, you look like you're like fucking 11.
I'm sure he was pubic. I'm sure he was.
Oh, you've experienced in that area.
Didn't even begin to break until I was 17. Very embarrassing. They also made me we also had a lesson on how to shower like in the first week, and like the full screw who was there, like he was there showing us how to shower and pulling back his foreskin and stuff. It was horrible.
Oh. I want that job.
is that what like most British headmasters have to do?
I think I'd be really good at showing boys how to wash their dicks.
You probably would be, actually.
I have a lot of experience with the old foreskin. Like I think I'd be very good at it. I'd be firm, but fair.
You're no stranger to a foreskin, put it that way.
Now, if the target on my back wasn't already big enough, you can add to that the fact that I was a devout Christian
Oh my word.
and didn't believe in sex before marriage.
What
I
are
was
you going into the
relentlessly
army
mocked for this.
I know, it's like, this is why would you join the army?
Jesus.
You must have had no
So
other
So
alternative.
sheltered. Yeah. Joining the army is probably the best thing for somebody who's really sheltered. I actually
Well, you
think.
do get, I mean, oftentimes you get to see the world,
You'll get to see the world and you're going to meet so many people that you never would have met otherwise.
Yeah, I mean, what else would his life
Mm-hmm.
have been if he didn't do it? But I just wonder, like,
Oh, I would have mocked him.
Until they broke me. I renounced all my beliefs and allowed my comrades to take me to a brothel to lose my virginity.
Nice.
The entire experience was utterly terrifying.
I
could
bet.
The
imagine.
brothel was called Secrets, all right? And was located on a council estate in the middle of Leeds.
No,
you
he's
imagine-
gonna Leeds. Oh my god, I can imagine what she looks like. Yeah.
Yeah, could you imagine what this? I mean, I guess Leeds is in the north, right? So it's not northern
Mhm.
slag, but a Leeds slag.
A Leeds prostitute. It's like this is not. It's gonna be like looking like someone's mum that he's about to show. But I imagine she could be quite sweet about the whole situation. Prostitutes will
Maybe
probably
like
see a lot of
guide him
virgins.
through it.
Exactly.
I do wonder what they think about when you a virgin comes. Like, do you think they're like, fuck, it's a fucking
No,
virgin?
I think they will probably be sweeter with the virgins than they would be with the regular clients.
Didn't Russell Brand, I remember, I don't know if it was on his radio show or something, he was saying that when he lost his virginity, it was like a Thai hooker and his dad took him there. And it's like, it's time.
It is time, son.
Like, it's time. I'm
For a
surprised it didn't
Thai
happen.
hooker. Yeah.
Well, I'm just surprised it didn't happen with Twisted Firestarter. Like, your dad was like, it's time. You got to become
He's
a
from
man.
a Christian
Let's
household.
do it. Oh, yeah. I guess
Probably
he's
didn't even
Christian.
know that hookers, other than the one who was washing Jesus's feet, existed.
I just think it's hilarious. It's like he was in the army for a while, like a month. He's like,
Yeah,
all
they
right, fuck
broke
it.
him.
I'm a Satanist and let's go fuck a whore.
Imagine writing that letter back to your parents within a month. Dear mummy and daddy, fuck the church. I'm never coming home. And I fucked a prostitute in Leeds. Bye.
I met a really nice lady. She said she's going to give me a blow job. I'm really looking forward to having a job, make some extra money.
Yay.
Upon entering, I walked past a massive pimp on the door who eyeballed me the whole time I was there. The whore I fucked was an attractive Eastern European and actually a very pleasant person.
Cute.
But I have to say that I didn't particularly enjoy my time with her. It was a struggle just to maintain an erection, and I didn't even finish. I don't know. I don't know if this has like affected me in later life, but I still struggle to maintain erections with women. I think I've just got low self-esteem or something.
Oh.
Despite all the
Poor Twisted Firestarter here. There's this whole scenario of losing his virginity to a whore has brought on adult impotence.
Yeah, he's got ED.
Yeah.
Shit.
You need some EDS meds like Steel takes. Let's go get some
Yeah.
EDS meds.
You should message Steele and talk about your penises together. I think Steele would
You know,
appreciate this.
I think, this kind of inspires me. I think we should get Steel on here as a counselor for some people.
What, and we'll create a whole ED community, and Steel can be their king.
For all the men who have erectile dysfunction, you can ask Steele, like, how do you cope? And it's almost like an AA group, but for ED, like an ED group.
Yeah. The Reverend John Steele at the helm.
My name is Twisted Firestarter, and I have erectile dysfunction. Steele's like, that's money.
I walked out that day with my head held high, thinking, I am now a man, and my peers will now accept me. Little did I know that I would spend the rest of my time in basic training being relentlessly mocked for losing my virginity to a prostitute. And not just basic training, my whole fucking army career. That followed me throughout my whole career, and they just took the piss out of me for it.
That's so funny.
I also lost my anal virginity to a broom handle whilst in training, although not by choice.
Jesus.
But that's a different story for a different therapist. So that's Twisted Firestarter's story on how he lost his virginity. All the best for the future. All the best. Well done, Kate. Loving your shit. Keep it going. Twisted Firestarter.
Right, I want him to
Whoa.
ring in his about how
The
the
broom
those
handle?
fucking squaddies raped him. But yeah, I love that.
God.
That's British banter for you, where it's like, come on, mate, we're going to take you to a prosy, and then the second you do it, it's like, aha. That is
And then they just
nothing-
razz you the rest of your
nothing
fucking career.
personifies British banter better than that, and being like, we'll never let you forget this.
Oh man! And then on
That's a
top
great
of that,
story.
they rape him with a fucking broom handle.
Yeah, ring in that story. Definitely want to hear
Yeah.
that.
Good
I'm sorry you
God.
have ED though. It must be the pressure thing, because sometimes, like, I always think, especially when you first get into relationships with people, the sex is, takes a while to warm up.
Well, yeah, because you're
No.
getting to know the person.
You get to know the person, so it could just be, don't put pressure on yourself, mate.
Yeah, just get a smaller broom handle.
Just get a smaller broom handle. You might
That's
enjoy
all.
that
That's
more.
all you need.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, thank you, there, Twisted Firestarter.
What
God,
a great story.
That is
Yeah.
a great story. That might be one of the best
That's in the
losing virginity
running.
stories I've ever heard.
Yeah, he's definitely in the running.
All right. Next one we have here is Psychopathia Sexualis calls in with her losing virginity story.
Lovely voice.
Hello, Dee. Hello, Kate. I wanted to tell you the story of losing my virginity. I don't think it's the most embarrassing story, but it's up there in the I wouldn't do it now category.
Ooh.
So I had a crush on this boy at my school. His surname was Clench, which is very funny. He was like 6'3". He had long gold and curly hair, and he was a leftist, and he wore a big Russian army coat and these big boots, and I was
Ooh.
Che
enamored.
Guevara.
So he was a couple of years older than me, so I thought, oh, I'll invite him to a party at my friend's house, which was sort of like her mum went away every weekend, so we just hung out at Sarah's house and got fucked up pretty much every weekend. So I invited Matt under the guise of, well, I want to spend time with you, but you're 18, so you can buy us booze. And he did.
Wait, you can buy booze at 18 over there?
Yeah, you know that.
What the fuck? You can lose your virginity. You can have sex with a 16-year-old,
16
and you can buy
16
booze at 18.
Yeah, 16 is the age of consent over here, and 18 is how I bet every 16-year-old can buy booze. At least you could when I was 16. I was
God, no.
buying booze then.
I'm regretting throwing your tea in the fucking harbor, kicking you out of the country.
Yeah, I told you, mate. I told you you'd regret that. So you did it when I was on the boat coming back to Britain. I was like, you're
Yeah.
gonna regret this.
You
Can't have
regret this.
banter. You can't have tea.
Drinking vodka, but not good vodka, Glen's vodka, which
Ew.
is one step above antifreeze, I'm fairly sure.
It
I
is.
wonder if that's what the rugby player got.
All
He
my
was like,
Polish
"What
friends
this, mate?"
drink Glen's vodka because it's just cheap
Glen's
and it gets you
vodka.
fucked up, but it's rank. It's one of the vodkas that'll make you sick the next day, definitely.
But I've been drinking for a couple of years. Started drinking at 14, so I was 16 now. And so we get drunk. I'm flirting so hard. I'm sure it was embarrassing to witness, but I felt like a fox. I absolutely wasn't because I was 16 and incredibly awkward. And then for some reason, everyone else went upstairs. I think they went up to smoke some pot or something, and me and Mr. Clench, I'll call him, stayed downstairs.
It's like a Bond villain, Mr. Clench.
And
I've got something you can clench.
on Sarah's living room floor. But because we were scared people would walk in on us, we kept all our clothes on, which meant I lost my virginity wearing a Jaws t-shirt that said we're going to need a bigger boat. And he didn't even take his coat off.
So she got fucked with like a fucking Russian, golden-haired Russian guy in a Jaws t-shirt. I like it. It's a fucking
You're
great
gonna need
film,
a bigger
man.
boat. Yeah, no, that is a great fucking movie.
Yeah.
One of
like,
the best.
Representing it for the losing of your
Yeah.
virginity. I like it.
That's a good shirt to wear for that. I can't remember what I was wearing.
I was half dressed because I expected him for some reason to like strip me naked, and he never did. So I lost my
You
virginity.
just pull your knickers down and just get to
He
get to
basically
work.
did, yeah. I lost my virginity wearing a Cradle of Filth t-shirt that said cunt on the back.
Somehow very fitting.
It's my personality in a t-shirt at the time.
Yeah, I think that works.
I remember it being particularly eventful. I think I thought, is this all? Is this all there is? Might have been the realization that I had.
Yeah, that's pretty much every woman I've ever had sex with. All right.
Yay!
and I'm in my 40s.
But yeah, I'm sure it was a good time. I do remember not realizing that cum came back out. I don't know where I thought it was going to go once someone comes in you, but I didn't think it would dribble out and ruin my underwear. And
Wow, I'm surprised this guy came
in it.
inside of her. Yeah. When I was that age, well, I guess I wasn't that young, but when I think I lost my virginity at 17. Yeah, 17, right before I turned 18. I was so nervous about getting a girl pregnant. Holy shit, they indoctrinated us with that fear. There was no way I would have ever came inside any girl. There's no
he
way.
had a condom on the guy I lost origin to. It's very big, like, you wear a condom.
You know, the girl that I lost my virginity to was just like, you are wearing a condom and I'm being very careful. And it was just like, but I at the same time was, so freaked out about having a kid.
Holy shit.
Yeah. Like, oh my God, shit. I don't want to be a dad. I'm only 17.
I'm only 17. God damn it.
But yeah, I have pathological fear. That's why I'm surprised that this guy's just nonchalantly like, oh, fuck it.
I'll fucking come in there. But maybe it's because he was also inexperienced.
Oh, that could be too. Just didn't realize.
Yeah.
it's just a little embarrassing thing that no one teaches you if you're stupid. So that's the story of losing my virginity. Funny enough, the crush I had on him completely disappeared after that. I felt like I'd defeated a boss of being a teenager. Had a crush? Squashed it, mate. Anyway, thanks for listening. Keep it sick and keep it wrong.
Nice.
That is kind of the motto of being a teenager. Had a crush, squashed it.
Yeah, sometimes that happens as well in adulthood. You'll fancy somebody and then you just like shag them and you're like, oh no, I do not fancy you at all now.
Well, shit sex too,
Shit sex definitely.
And once you get intimate with somebody, it really reveals a lot of things you never would know otherwise,
Yeah.
That's why, like, I always found it a bad idea to really fuck your friends, like when you're really good friends with someone, because it's like, it just adds another dimension of complexity to it. That.
How many of your male friends were you fucking? You and Kessler.
Friends. Not male friends.
Oh, no, that's you and Kessler. The other way.
No, I'm saying female friends.
Yes,
but
I know what you mean.
Sometimes, though, like, there's sexual tension with a male-female friendship. You just fuck, get out of the way, and you realize, this is why we should be. This is why we should be friends, because you suck.
Yeah.
Fucking get me off. That's happened before too.
Yeah, that's happened with me as well.
Definitely has. Wow, well, that's a good round. Good round of awkward stories.
I enjoyed all of them.
Although I think Anne's wasn't that awkward. Anne's was kind of like
Anne's
nostalgic.
is cute.
Nostalgic, yeah.
And I like Psychopathia because that's just more probably a traditional. Lots of people will have felt that way. after.
Yeah, like just kind of being
me.
disappointed, being like, yeah, I really built this up. Whereas like Twisted Firestarter, that's the only one I'd ever want to relive and experience for myself.
That was an amazing. So what are we saying, that he's the winner from this round, and the next round of phone calls has to be against Twisted Firestarter now? We're holding that as the winner.
It's
so far.
definitely the front runner. Although
Yeah.
I gotta say, we got some good ones for next week. That I'm going to play for next week. And if we get some, by the next show, if you call 323-522-4032,
I'm excited.
you'll be in the running.
And we'll both slowly tell our virginity stories, because what actually happened to the guy I lost my virginity to is better.
I was going to wait till we're done, and then although I don't think my story trumps Twisted Firestarters, but it is good. It is good.
Mine's a bit sordid.
Ooh,
Yeah.
not surprised. Not to bring that up. People, call Sick and Wrong hotline 323-522-4032. Check out my my heartfelt new message. Also, the Sick and Wrong Reddit page. God, there's over 400 people on there now. It's growing.
Sickos.
400 sickos, depraved individuals. Seriously, fucked up shit on there.
I love your memes, guys.
Did you see that video someone posted, that squirter?
Yeah.
It's like women, like seriously, I think it's kind of the theme of the show with the, Ilsa Koch and Irma Grazer. It's like women can be so cruel. This guy, he just wants to play video games.
He just wants
sitting
to
there
play
playing
cards.
Xbox. Yeah, he's like sitting there playing,
and then
playing games.
He's got a
this
face
cruel
full of fish stews.
Yeah, he's got this cruel women just spraying Clamato all over him. Just like from like 3 feet away, just spraying it. Yeah, go check it out. It's disgusting.
On the Reddit page, guys.
Yeah, r/Sick and Wrong podcast, no spaces. It's going to change your perspective on life going to that page. Also, thank you everybody for signing up on the Patreon. There's been a lot of people going on the Patreon now. Well, the fact of the matter is we're doing a lot more on Patreon than we've ever done before. And I was actually bitching about it the other day. I was like, God, it's fucking a lot. We're doing so much on Patreon. It's like taking time out of my personal D time,
So what your Torah reading time is taking time away from that, is it?
Well, that and watching Nazi exploitation porn films.
Do you know what? I've gotten through this whole episode without once mentioning that you're Jewish till then. That was great.
Yeah, I'm actually kind of surprised.
I'm proud of myself.
And the overkill, you mentioned it within like the first, I don't know, 1 minute, maybe.
Yeah.
Anyway. But yeah, we're doing a lot on Patreon. We're doing not only the extra phone calls, the extra story, outtakes. We're also doing a new segment called Sick and Wrong News. And this week we kind of went into detail discussing the recent departure of Dustin Diamond, lost Screech from Saved by the Bell. And the discussion really shifted. I mean, we were talking about his massive schlong because he had a big dick. And then somehow ended up into a discussion of Kate, like teaching the listeners how to make a shit mattress of toilet paper. Yeah, in their toilet to catch your poo so it doesn't make any noise when you have to shit at a one-night stand's house, like when you're at their house. And
it's just polite to lay a mattress. Also, if you lay a mattress, it stops any splashback issues. So lay a mattress.
I had never heard of this. So we go into a lot of detail about that because that's the thing. You never know where a headline might lead on the news. When you're free flying with the news, there's no boundaries, So and also the Sick and Wrong Overkill bonus episode is on Irma Grazer, the hyena of Auschwitz, bitch of Belsen. Definitely the most sadistic guard, female guard to ever work inside a Nazi concentration camp. And Kate goes into like real graphic detail about this woman. So
about what she got up to, yes.
Yeah, and I even said it on this one. So go check it out. Patreon.com/Sick and Wrong. And find out what it's all about. Also, the T Public store. We do have a Patreon only discount going on right now. It's on the Patreon page. You can see the click on the link. But also, I think they're having a Valentine's Day sale as well. So just go to sickandwrongpodcast.com/shop. Click on the picture of the Pope. Go to the T Public store. And I think it's like 30 to 35% off everything right now. So great Valentine's Day gift. If you want to get laid, just go get your girlfriend like one of the Sick and Wrong They Live tapestries.
With the
cut a hole in its eye and then you can have sex through the hole. Like we like having sex through holes in sheets.
Yes, you do. That's
That's what we
a
do.
Jewish.
That's
That's
what my
part of the
people
Jewish
do.
problem.
It
Mhm.
hides the ugly.
Yeah.
So I lost my virginity. Just go sickaroundpodcast.com/shop. I finally hear Sick and Wrong song of the week. I was actually really trying to find, like, I want to find a song that fits with the theme. Forbidden Love, Dominatrixes, Ilsa She-Wolf. Couldn't think of a better song than Queen of Pain by the Cramps. I'm going to dedicate that one to the Bitch of Belson. It's from Big B from Badsville, the 7th studio album by the band The Cramps. Came out in 1997. It's a great record, actually. Really
One
good
of the
record.
best bands of all time.
And not to mention, fairly topical, because it was recently the death anniversary of Lux Interior this past February 4th. He died 2009, February 4th, 2009. Did he die? Was it a heart attack, cancer?
Yeah, he had like a heart. You know what they
Yeah,
say
heart
about
issue?
him? You know how pale he was and how he would always sweat? He was very pale and a sweaty
covered
man.
in sweat.
That was actually part of the defect. And if they'd have like worked that out, like when he was 20, he would have been fine. So,
He would have lived. Well, really?
well, they could have treated him. He would have been able to take medication, but they didn't work that out until basically he died. He died very suddenly, very quickly.
Rest in
A
power, their
shame.
Lux Interior. One of the
Mm.
best performers I've ever seen live.
Yeah.
That was one thing. I mean, maybe because of my age, but also living in San Francisco, they played every year Halloween at the Fillmore, and we went every year. It was like a thing that all the goths did.
Yeah.
Also, this month, Poison Ivy is her birthday,
It is. And Brian
February 20th?
Gregory's.
and Brian Gregory, February
Yeah,
20th.
same
it's,
day,
it's,
the
it's Cramps
20th.
month.
It is Cramps month.
So we're on the
Best
show here,
bands.
Queen of Pain by the Cramps. People, thanks for listening. We'll be back next week with the Valentine's Day show, the VD show, Sick and Wrong VD, episode 778. Till then, take it sleazy. That's good. It's a good band. The Cramps.
Great band.
That
Somebody
is a good
says
band.
D looks like Lux Interior.
I don't think I'm that pale, personally.
No, is it your hair?
You know?
Queen of Pain, Queen of Pain.
Oh my God. 33% God. Wackerly's lost in virginity. I kind of want to get him. I do kind of want to get him on.
I want to know about Steele, how Steele lost his virginity too, because you said you didn't
Well,
know.
You know, actually, well, he's way older. So, yeah, I don't really know, actually, how Steele lost his virginity. But Wackerly, I do know because I was at the party when it happened. And it was like a momentous occasion. I would love for him to come on. And I kind of want to tell the story, but I don't know if like we should try to get him to come on.
Would he though?
Yeah. Well, so he banged some dude's girlfriend, and it was pretty amazing. Yeah, it was pretty funny. Yeah. So anyway, but that story's great. I should see if he wants to come on. I don't know what's better. I think I told you. I haven't told you the story about Wackerly's virginity, but I did tell you the story about Wackerly living in that house where the guy came on the sweater.
Yeah, I love that story. That's one
Oh,
of the
it's
best
amazing.
stories. Yeah,
I would love
love
to
that
have
story.
Wackerly come back on the show and talk about that. But he was just on in December.
Yeah, that's
So
what I
he-
mean. He won't come back on.
He won't come on probably till later. I could see if he'd come on. I'm not gonna tell her now because Wackerly would be pissed off
Leave it.
because it's a mutual friend of ours. So if I'm
Mm-hmm.
like telling the story, he's gonna be pissed off. But we definitely could get Steele on the show though to talk about it.
Yeah.
You know, maybe next week we can see if he wants to do the news.
Yeah, we'll get Steele on the Patreon.
Yeah, we can do an outtake talking about Steele's losing virginity.
Yeah, and then we could talk about the penis competitions as well.
Oh God, yeah. Those penis competitions, small penis competitions.
That's it, small penis club.
Wait, did you hear that on From the Ville?
I think so. I think you mentioned something when I was talking about how much I
Oh.
liked Steele. You were like, next time he's on, you should ask him these questions. I think that was one of them.
How many people on the Patreon have been or not Patreon, YouTube right now? Listen to From the Ville. Kate's been like going through
I'm going through them. I've
the
listened to them.
catalog. You've been going through the whole catalog.
I'm going to listen to all of them. I was just listening to the episode where they had, was it whatever.
Oh,
that
Dan
guy's-
Rackley. No,
That
fucking guy.
Rackley. They just had Rackley on, and Steele loses his fucking mind at him. And I was doubled up with laughter. I was listening to it at work as well. It was so funny.
I've definitely listened to every episode from the Ville. I mean, it
Mhm.
was on they're kind of like our sister podcast because we're on them around the same time. And we really promote them because they used to come on our show. But there are some episodes from the Ville that, I mean, obviously there's episodes Sick and Wrong that suck too. But there's episodes from the Ville that weren't that great, but there are some fucking good episodes of From the Ville. Like if I had to pick my top ones, it would be the BBW party episodes, the episodes with Dougie, and my favorite one is the guy who had the huge dick. Well, that's what I'm saying.
Mr. Spring
Cramps.
Break.
No, not Spring Break. It was Steele's roommate in college had a really huge
Another
dick.
guy.
And this guy was this guy was like a hapless fuck. Like it just misfortune just befell this guy.
That's usually
Like,
what
he got
happens.
hit by a car. He lost his actual
Yeah.
leg. He saw luckily the
We've
third
talked
leg.
about him because I've always said you don't need a third leg if you've got a dick like that. That's your third
Well,
leg. Mm.
That's the thing with I'm talking to Cramps here. I can understand why From the Ville people don't get into it because there are some episodes that kind of suck. And Martin's kind of hard to like. I've never been a huge fan of Martin, but Steele definitely is. He's great. He's the character.
This is what I am in it for. I am in it for the Steele. The
Yeah.
John Steele.
You know, Martin just kind of is a dad, and he's like just lives in Bay City, and he's like an umpire in his baseball. Like I don't know. I've always kind of found Martin kind of lame.
Yeah, compared.
Whereas Steele is a fucking weirdo that lives in this weird fucking like. Do you ever see pictures of his what do you call it, the dorm room? You
I
ever
did
see
actually
pictures of
because
it?
Sophie shared some pictures of his dorm room. I was like, yeah, looks like what I would expect.
Yeah, it's pretty like for a man that's like 50. It is weird. Yeah, see, Jonathan, Whacker's got to tell the tale. I mean, I can tell my side of it. I wasn't obviously there when I saw it the next morning when we found out it happened, but obviously I don't have the actual story of it. But it's a fucking great story. The funniest thing about Wackerly, because I went to college with a guy, he was older. Like I don't think he lost his virginity to probably like 20, maybe 20 years
That
old.
happens though, doesn't it? Lots
Yeah,
of
but
people
isn't
do.
that kind of old for a dude?
That's probably right for some dudes.
I should offer him. I bet you know if I offered him Patreon money, he would do it. That fucking cheap cunt. I'm a cheap cunt because I don't want to. I'm just gonna get him to do it for free.
Exactly. Who's the
Yeah, but
real
most
dude?
dudes, most people lose their virginity by 20. I'd say
Yeah, but at least he lost it.
we
I know
were.
that-
We were obsessed with it. Like I was obsessed with it.
Mm-hmm.
Like I mean, that's all we wanted to do. Was get laid.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
yeah, it was fucking tough. It was tough. It was tough for me because I was one of those like really goofy dudes, but also like known as just like goofy weird guy. And there are only a few, weird goth girls in my school.
It's tough for you. Let's put it down to that is because you're Jew. That's why. The guys
some
are
girls
like-
some girls have a Jew fetish. All right.
Yeah,
Give you
like
that.
2% of the nation that you weren't in high school with.
But yeah, like Wackerly though was like a different case because like in college, like as soon as I got out of Bay City and I went to Ann Arbor, I mean, in college, it's really easy to get laid. I mean, you just meet a lot.
Yeah.
Well, you just meet other people. You meet more people.
Mhm.
So it's a lot easier. But Wackerly was just really nerdy. I mean, he's just a nerdy guy, and I think awkward around chicks. And then he like really liked this one chick who was also a virgin, and it was also a virgin, and just like never
Never went
she
anywhere, 'cause
she
they're
didn't want to
both
get laid,
virgins.
and they just never did. And then yeah, so he never. So I mean, he spent like a good year or two with her, and so I think he lost out on a lot of opportunities. And then
Yeah.
like I remember giving him all these like tips, like you got to meet another nerd. Like
Mm.
talk to her about fucking Mystery Science Theater or something, whatever.
You
impress
gotta
her. It
buy
doesn't
her
take
some
much.
bagels, okay? You can...
Buy her some bagels.
Mm.
Cramps. That's one thing I gotta do for Steele. He sounds like he's on talking on 50s radio because he's talking on his fucking cell phone.
You need to find out what type of cell phone he has so you can send him some headphones.
Yeah, I was gonna send him the headphone mic. Actually, it fucking sucks. Yeah, you know, I'm gonna do that. That's a good idea. I'm gonna actually do that. Let me send myself a memo, a memorandum. Yeah, but no.
Steal some bagels and a mic.
When Wackerly finally did get laid, put this way, every other guys in the house gave him a standing ovation. It was that great.
Yeah.
Do I have to get him to tell the story? Obviously, I'm probably using some artistic license here, but it's been a few years.
That
But
didn't
it's a
happen
great
for
story.
me. Like I remember the next day he took me to McDonald's for breakfast because I'm classy.
That is
sitting
a
on the
classy
hard-
chav.
It is a very classy moment to go to McDonald's the night after you've lost your virginity. And he bought me breakfast. But I remember sitting on the hard seats was painful.
That's
Never
fucking
felt that way
hilarious.
since. Yeah. Now it's like throwing a hot dog down a hallway.
Now it's just like gypsies just pay £5.
Yeah, it's like a wizard's sleeve.
They line up
It's
outside.
Like that.
All right, we gotta get out of here. It's been fun though.
Yes. Thanks everyone for tuning
Yeah,
in.
thanks everybody for tuning in. It's been a good time.
Yeah, and stick 'em with us.
Yeah, check out
Yeah.
next week though. Next week, the virginity stories are pretty fucking amazing. Got that Scottish guy. The Scottish guy that called in on
Oh.
Facebook. Oh my god, it's great.
Yeah.
It's great. Anyway, all right, take it easy, people.